Welcome to the Dark Ages. It's cold, it's wet, it's dirty, it's filled with rats, and they probably have the plague. Oh, look at me, I look awful. And if you think a few mousetraps solves that problem, don't worry about the undead that are lurking through the woods who can smell you for miles and will hunt you down in a mindless horde. Look at them all coming in. This is wild. One bite from them and you're infected. That is, if you don't go insane first. No. Oh my. The plague will be constantly evolving. The undead will constantly be getting smarter, and I need to survive 100 days or die trying. This is the hardest mod pack I've ever played. This is the medieval plague apocalypse. This is day one. And it all begins with me, a potential king in the making, just spawning into a swamp outside of a witch's hut that I definitely don't want to go into. Nope. 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 Because the mobs hit harder, the danger is higher, and I'm busy picking flowers because they're gonna keep me sane. Lucky for me, there were a few portals to hell sitting around with some wonderful loot sitting in the chest. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. Flint, too. Unlucky for me, I wasn't alone in the swamp. Oh my god. Oh, no, run, run, run. So as I ran from that gator, I'm punching dead bushes and plants and trying to get myself the tiniest bit of flint, which I can use to combine to make a flint knife, breaking a bunch more plant fibers to get then into plant string. I forget what it's called right now. But as I'm still not yet up to the point where I can punch a tree, those lines around the corner of my screen, you might be wondering what that is. That's me going insane. You see, everything I do that's even remotely stressful in this world will make me go insane. Killing animals? Insane. Getting wet? Insane. Fighting the undead horde and against a ton of plague rats? You guessed it, insane. So as I had to kill the sheep right here to get myself food and a little bit of wool so I can get an initial bed, I'm already starting to lose it. Foraging onions and whatever I can from these woods right here. I'm just trying to find a patch of gravel to get myself another piece of flint which I can use to make an axe. There was a little bit of it embedded into the wall of this small ravine here. I bridged down to it with dirt and then dug into the wall, getting myself rough flint that I had to nap on the stone, breaking it, combining it back up, getting more gravel blocks, and then finally being able to craft myself a flint axe. It took all day to chop one tree, and we haven't even gotten to the night yet, and the night is dark and full of terrors. It's too far. I don't have time, I can't. Not wanting to risk anything and desperately needing a source of light into the night, I made myself a quick campfire, or at least I tried to. I can't make charcoal without a furnace, I can't make a furnace without stone, I can't get stone without a wooden pickaxe, and I can't get a wooden pickaxe without fire. So I made myself a little flower crown and then just hid in the hole right here, going slowly mad in the darkness, hearing the zombies screaming for my brains. But I realized I could cut apart one of the blocks of planks of wood with the knife to get myself the wood chunks that I need, which I'm gonna need to temper by burning them, which I won't be able to do until the morning because there's a lot of things out here which very much want to eat me. But I was finally able to do some quick thinking, dye all the wool the same color, allowing me to craft myself up a sleeping bag and go to rest for my very first night. And the next day didn't start too much better. Is that a creeper? Oh. Ow. Oh, hello. Oh, wait. Oh, boy, do you look fun. Okay. Being surrounded on all sides, I dug out of my little hidey hole and jumped into the river, swimming off on the opposite side and then just making a break for it, breaking as many plant fibers and flowers as I could because flowers are going to be really important for not just my sanity. You see, my health will not naturally recover. I need to get specific healing items that will fix both my body as well as my overall hearts. So flowers are good for the mind and the body. But you know what isn't? Fighting a zombie on on a floating chunk of dirt. And let me show you just how much effort it takes to kill just one of them. Oh my God. I'm gonna literally need to dismember every single zombie I find. Oh, fun. With my kill count still in the single digits, I made a break for it, combining a lot of the seeds and flowers that I had collected into a bunch of healing herbs, having to result to drinking dirty swamp water, which cannot be good for my long-term health, and crafting up a pile of plant fibers, which I was able to ignite with a stick, and then use that to burn to temper all of the wood chunks I had created, which allows me to make a wooden pickaxe finally on day 2. Finally having wooden tools, I chopped down a few trees just to shore up my resources, heading up to a nearby hill here where there was a singular piece of coal in the wall, and I desperately wanted that. That would allow me to make torches, which would allow me to survive the night without going insane, which also allowed me to make a campfire, which I could use to cook up future wood chunks. That is, if I could safely go out to get them. Oh my God. Oh, the jump scare that just did. So instead I used the campfire to just cook up all of the meats I had collected, getting myself some better food, some stone tools, and quite a few zombies crawling around just outside of this wall. And they're smart, they're persistent, they follow the lights and sounds that I make, so they pretty much just always know where I am, and they're staying close enough that I can't sleep through the night, meaning I'm not gonna be able to reset my health, my hunger, or my sanity. And I'm gonna need my sanity. Oh no. Tell you what, I think we're just gonna wait out the night. Trying to dig the other way just led to the other side of the hill that the zombies were following me through, so I can't sleep through this. I'm pinned inside a very small hovel in a very small hill with zombies on all edges, and I'm starting to get dehydrated and starting to lose my vision. Nope, that's not the video glitching. That's what I was dealing with in real time because I need to go get water, and water is the least of my problems right now. Oh, this is not good. This is not good. What the? Oh, plague. Wonderful. So yeah, we have multiple infections to worry about. The zombie plague, which will turn me into a zombie. The plague, which turns it into even more ultra hardcore because none of my healing items work. And the mental plague, that if I get too stressed or too wet or too cold or too hungry, yeah, my inner demons are gonna come hunting me. I've really stacked the deck against myself for this one. Oh, look at me, I look awful. How long does this persist for? 4.5 minutes. But swimming across the river to a nearby ruined house that had a few pigs outside, I looted the chests, getting another golden apple, which is great. That'll save me from the zombie infection, just not the plague. A bunch of wheat, some poisoned potatoes, and other, well, middling foods. Once my blindness had worn off, I made myself a whole bunch more healing herbs, just warning the pigs that I would return in the future, marking this location and then swimming back over to where I had made myself a bunch of glass, which I could turn into a bunch of glass bottles, which I could use to pot water, even temporarily, making myself a shield so I'd be able to do a little bit of a fight and converting most of that rotten flesh into a singular piece of leather. Then I kind of panicked as the plague timer was about to run out. Let's just be cured of the plague, please. Please no more plague. With the plague stopped, I was able to finally use some of my herbs to heal myself a little bit, not really getting to full, not wanting to waste all of them, having one left as I swam across the river towards the camp here, finding out that it was a bit of a pillager camp. Iron bolts. Crossbow. Apples. Name tags. Everything. It's about to become night and I need to sleep immediately or I'm gonna die. And we're gonna pull out of the video for just a second so I can talk to you directly. Hi, I'm really lucky that this Minecraft, this is my job, and I get to do that because of you all. And I wanted to shout out a place where you can go and support me to bring stability in a life where YouTube doesn't always have it. And I'm talking about my Patreon. If you support there, you get access to all of the mod packs that I make, all of the final world downloads whenever I complete a 100 days, and sneak peeks in new adventures before anyone else. I don't do this often. I just wanted to shout it out. It's been almost 2 years being a full-time content creator since I got laid off in summer of 2023. I think it's gonna be about almost exactly the anniversary. For that, I say thank you. If you're going to TwitchCon EU, I'm already over there, and I can't wait to see you at the convention. Thank you all so much for the support, and let's jump back into me in one of the worst situations I've ever been in as we continue. I frantically spammed that bedroll getting into day 4, where I was able to use the chest here to stash away a lot of the loot that I had collected so far, cooking up the rat, which I'm not gonna think about that too hard, and then heading over to brave the tower in the middle of the lake here. The cobwebs are great. I can break those down for string, which is going to be an essential resource for something that I need. Getting a few other supplies from the chests here, I was able to make it up to the very top of the tower, having a somewhat uneventful trip, and then realizing and kind of stumbling into a treasure room at the very top of the structure. Oh my. I scrambled to get everything I could from the chests up here, not really having the inventory space to manage it, so I had to leave some things like paper, crossbows, and potentially useful long-term tools behind as I need to focus on the short game right now. Heading back to the chest that I had left here, I dropped a bunch of things off, compressed nuggets down into their ingot form, and then started to think about what it would take to get a backpack. I need 3 more pieces of leather to do it, and I don't see any cows hovering around, so we're not going to be getting to a backpack anytime soon. Instead, I put my attention towards doing a bit of farming, planting wheat seeds so I could hopefully have them grow into wheat to get even more seeds, and taking whatever flowers I had and turning those into more herbs, and figuring out I can do more with the food that's sitting in my inventory. You know what? When in medieval times, do as medieval times does. But after that somewhat dubious snack, I wanted to have an out. So I found a small cave right here that I was able to collapse the back of and then throw down a bunch of blocks and a simple bridge to be able to get in and hopefully rapidly close it behind me. Not wanting to need that, I also chopped down all of the logs that had been set aside here and tried to sleep up inside the little watchtower. It's only maybe 4 blocks up above the ground, but being up and off the ground is really important right now, as A, the dark is scary, and B, the zombies are even scarier. But the next morning, I'm gonna need to brave those mobs because I need bone meal if I want to be able to grow crops at any reasonable rate, and there's some hostile bone meal waiting just across the river. Now my shield here is really important, as these skeleton archers are snipers in this mod pack and can do a heck of a lot of damage from range with very little warning. Slowly making my way up and doing the stabbing, I was rewarded with some mediocre shoes. Better than nothing. Dealing with a few lone walkers, picking up some leaves and figuring out that they can't be turned into healing herbs, and then heading down the land on this side, trying to see what else is around here. It led to more swamp, so I swam across the lake, costing myself a decent bit of sanity along the way, ending up at a field somewhat close to where I had initially spawned. I'm doing a big circle at this point, picking up eggs and going to do a bit of mining, getting myself a whole bunch of coal and finding that there was way more flint around here if I just turned in a different direction. But the swamp attracted my nemesis, my rival, the absolute mob I hate the most, these damn things. You little rat. I hate seagulls. Now being significantly better equipped than where I was at the beginning of this adventure, I doubled back towards that witch hut, breaking the door in and just critting them out to be able to pick up a little bit of gunpowder, but the cauldron and a ton of flowers that were right here outside of their house. I'm still very early game, so I need to grab any iron that I see, any coal that I see, and I'm working through all of these caves, trying my best to avoid the madness debuffs from being too deep underground and being too underwater, which is going to make my normal way of finding a whole bunch of iron completely infeasible, as door diving just doesn't work here. But as it got dark and I could hear the growls of zombies around me, I didn't want to just dig into a hill again. That was a great way to get surrounded and trapped, so I ran over land, over the hill, swimming back, having a few sets of glowing eyes follow me through the trees, and that is very unsettling as they do that, and just how they move, I don't love it. But once I started taking a few hits and my health was going to go down, I did not want to death spiral. So I swam across the river, up my little watchtower, and slept as soon as I could. The next day, I banked all of the kind of just disparate materials I had been carrying around for so long, as I really can't afford to have everything in my pockets, dealing with a few stray spiders, and then focusing primarily on smelting iron and purifying water. The second of which is a very arduous task, as you have to put each bottle into the furnace manually, and that just requires sitting here and staring at it. With a healthy water source, I can venture out further than I had before, being able to cross the river, go over the hill, back through the swamp, and make my way to some greener pastures and meadows just beyond, finding a few cows out there and, for a moment, forgetting about the sanity meter, just slaughtering animals indiscriminately. Finding a small ruined house that didn't really have anything, was mainly just a pile of blocks, returning to my murdering, and then realizing I had messed up.
Oh, no. I forgot about that.
When your sanity drops too low, the world feels wrong. The color drains, your vision clamps in, but the auditory hallucinations are probably the biggest threat. Random steps, chests, creeper sounds constantly has me jumping and turning to look around. And I don't want to discount those, because you know the one time that I do, it'll be an actual death. But I didn't have time to make it home. Instead, I continued heading south into the swamp, making my way into a witch village, which would not exactly be a welcoming one, but still had some of the common resources and materials you'd expect to see in a village here. I slept in one of the houses, and using some of that, I was finally able to craft myself up a very initial backpack, which allowed me to store off a lot of the materials I had been collecting. Heading back out into the village, being very careful to not get too close to any of the residents, I broke down all the beetroot, as those seeds would be really useful for healing herbs, smashed all of the bookcases to steal a bunch of knowledge, and killed a witch in their bedroom who was stuck in a cobweb but got poisoned along the way. And poison is devastating.
Oh my God.
Without an injured limb, I can't use my healing herbs, so I had to waste the golden apple just to get myself above half a heart of health. That is precious, because it's the only thing that can cure me from the zombie infection, but at the same time, I'm now running with 3.5 hearts through random open field and having a bunch of witches chasing me, lobbing harming potions my way. I ran and I didn't look back, killing a few cows along the way, seeing a few random blue lizards along the way, and killing them while I was at it, making my way towards the initial little hut that I had made for myself that I had gotten trapped in back on day 2. I was gonna go in there, but turns out it was filled with zombies. Oh, and it started raining, and getting wet makes you insane. and cold and freezing to death. Through all of that, against any odds, cold, wet, insane, and freezing to death, I ran my way back towards the campfire at the pillager outpost that I had taken over, hiding underneath a tree to stay dry and sleeping into the next morning, where I started purifying water and finally upgrading my backpack with a little bit of iron that I have scavenged from all of the different places I had looted so far, storing and stashing and organizing everything I could to bring along with me. I want to leave as little behind as possible, as we need to find a permanent place to live. Boating down the giant river here and making landfall at a friendly looking village. This one actually populated with villagers, although there was a whole big pile of trash outside, so the sanitation department might just be on strike. I headed into the church to grab a little bit of lapis and redstone, finding stables with animals, food in all of the chests, supplies, and a bunch of plastic.
There's plastic?
I thought this was the oldie medieval ages. Wait, there's plastic?
Stuff really is around for forever.
All right, so not all the mods are perfectly thematically linked, but trust me, it does all play really nicely. As I finished looting through the remainder of the village here, cooking up a few chunks of leather that I was able to make from all of the rotten flesh I'd collected over time, sleeping in the blacksmith's area, and the next morning be reminded, oh yeah, we're totally in plague times.
Hello?
Oh, hello. Oh, let's have that. Let's definitely have that. That is very useful. Thank you, Tessie. In the leather worker's house, I got 3 more pieces of leather with no cooking required. A bunch of bread in all of the chests, and my favorite thing, high quality dirt outside of one of the farming plots here. The village was more than willing to submit tithes to the person who would become their new king, grabbing everything I could out of all of the chests and even doing a bit of trading with one of the pet shop owners who was willing to buy rat bodies, and I'm not going to question why. Inside the butcher was meat that was a little bit more my style, which I made sure to make a cutting board and chop up, compressing all of the cheese I had collected into cheese blocks, and then heading just outside of the village to find a small burned grave filled with fire barrels, fire bombs, and bones. That leads to more questions than answers, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet, as my pockets are already full.
Oh, pockets are overflowing. What do?
You know what? I have an idea. So the answer here was to make a second backpack, dyeing this one, upgrading it to iron as well, and using it as more of an intermediary loot stash, having all of my most valuable possessions in the one on my back. Camping out inside of the butcher's shop as the iron golems did their work to defend the village, finally allowing me to sleep and take care of some of the stragglers the following morning. Skeletons are still pretty tricky to deal with, and even taking out a single one of them costs me half my health as I got sniped a few too many times. I wanted to preserve the last little bit of healing herbs that I had, so I fought from inside of the structure, but the creepers are more than willing to blow that up to get at me.
Sorry.
Huh. Nice. Grabbing an iron axe from behind the one woodcarver's house right here, and then heading across the river towards a nearby stone structure, a giant castle, one fit for a king who I desperately want to be. So we're gonna try to clear this thing out. It's covered in cobwebs and vines, overgrown with leaves and foliage, but has useful stuff in a lot of the chests here. The main thing that it contained actually was bones, and lucky for me, there's a few wolves outside who I was able to quickly tame and then breed, which is great. Wolves serve as great companions. They help you with your insanity. They will fight for you. All of this is a net positive. So Once I had a few, I took the remaining bones, converted that into bone meal, and bone mealed one of the 2 tall flowers to make myself a whole bunch of healing herbs with all of the beetroot seeds I had collected, and then ventured back over towards the castle, trying to place exactly where all the zombie cries were coming from. It seems like they're mainly located in the basement, so I was safe to sleep in one of the upper towers here. Trying to see what I can do as far as claiming this place the following day, and immediately being rewarded with a massive come up from the first chest that I opened inside. Ayo. Oh, that's a lot of gold. Diamond, an axe, and boots. And a lot of bread. Heck yes. Not being quite ready to venture down just yet, I headed over to one of the other towers of this structure, trying to see what was above, finding a single skeleton spawner that I had to block off with the torch because the skeletons it's spawning, they're pretty well equipped. That was a flaming arrow. Ooh. Why is the zombie in diamond armor? Why is the zombie in diamond armor? Ow. Yeah, that sound is just, that tells you everything you need to know about how I felt about this fight in this moment. It was tough. It's also worth noting that the zombies look a little different to how they did in the first 10 days. I don't know if you noticed, but I definitely did, that the frame rate drops horrifically in the very first bit of this video whenever there's a whole bunch of zombies around, so I had to drop the 1 resource pack. That sucks, but at least the game will run, if not look the most spooky. But I returned to the door, relying on the fact that I could open the trapdoors around the main door to be able to actually fight all of the zombies, keeping them contained inside. Still catching a few stray arrows from the skeletons who were able to shoot through all of the crowd, and being relatively insane from constantly holding back the door right here from the dead. There's still flame bow. I need to leave. I need to leave right now. I need to leave right now. Having run out of healing items, I needed to become a little bit of an ecological disaster, breaking down whatever seed-bearing plants I could find and flowers to craft up a bunch of healing items, and then making myself 2 buckets, one for water and one for something that I had seen just across the way. Lava. Lava would be a great way to deal with zombies. Once again able to heal and armed with something that might prove an effective weapon against the undead, I returned back over towards the village, finding a few other chests that I hadn't fully looted and heading up into the bell tower on the very top of the church to rest there and fully recover. And so the following day, rested, recovered, armed, and supplied with, I don't know, a weapon of medieval mass destruction, I returned back to the castle, dedicated, focused, and desperately wanting to claim it as my own. Oh, yes, let's go. Oh, there's more buckets. Oh. Oh my. Oh, I'm infected. No. I didn't expect them to be able to swim up that. Okay, I might be setting the palace on fire, But that might be a worthwhile thing to do. Uh-oh. I think I set the castle on fire. I think I've set the castle on fire. Oh, the castle's just burning. Just made a full-on forest fire. Oh my god! I've destroyed this whole... This is wild. I've just made scorched earth. Puppies are okay. Oh my goodness, I almost fell down that hole. Well, I've fully destroyed this place. How perfect to make it home. After 2 intense days, I woke up on top of my castle surveying out to the damage I had caused and the land that was now mine. There's still a ton of zombies in the basement of this place. That's a problem I will have to deal with. Also, the roof is on fire. That is also a problem I have to deal with. I was able to break down the skeleton spawner that was in here that I had torched up, heading to the top of the tower, finding a whole bunch of diamonds in some of the chests here. Loot that makes the struggle worthwhile. But this place is far from secure and safe, as there's still zombies and other horrors just hovering around here. Horrors that eat away at my sanity like candy. Once I had finally secured the lower dungeon area underneath the back left tower of the structure, I headed upward, finding a higher room that had a few spawners in it, but was mainly just on fire, which presented the main danger here. This place is still actively burning. It's still filled with zombies, and the floor can drop out from underneath me without warning. And in doing the constant fighting, I'm losing my mind, having to stay over by my pets to just barely keep myself sane and functioning. That's when the voices started to return.
Oh, don't what me.
Oh my god.
I don't like that.
The next morning, with mobs still infesting half of the castle, I needed to invest in a little bit better healing materials, crafting up a few band-aids and then combining those with the healing herbs to make bandages, which would allow me to heal multiple limbs and have regeneration for longer than just enough for half a heart. It's been 4 days fighting for this castle, but I'm still just trying to hold the main door, heading down into the basement, finding spawners that I have to torch up and then break, killing a bunch of spiders down here, finding the few chests that didn't burn amongst all of the damage that I caused, including finding a few secret chests hidden behind trap doors down here.
Oh my god.
I was able to find and systematically break each of the spawners. Zombie, skeleton, spider. This place was meant to be an infested, overrun keep, and I was just able to control it, relying on my lava bucket to be able to kill some of the mobs, using the cobwebs that are here as environmental dangers, and taking shots to the head, which blinded me, making the combat in close quarters extremely risky. And just when I thought I was done, when I had cleared all of the rooms, I saw a door hidden behind one of the chests with yet another spawner inside, one that I had to dig around to the outside, putting down lava and torches just to light up the room before finally being able to break it, and I think, just barely, being able to call this structure finally mine. There's a lot here. This was a worthwhile fight, but it's also one that's been exhausting. I'm going to like 1:30 in the morning in real life, not wanting to log off in the middle of this battle, and being stressed in and out of game just fits perfectly. I found another spawner in the midst of a ruined, burned tower. Tried very roughly to just block off the front of the structure as best as I could, throwing down a bed and having to wait until much later into the night to be able to sleep and finally resting.
I don't like the crunching. Make the crunching stop.
In a castle that I can call my own. The next day, though, I desperately needed to put out the fires up on the roof so that the thing that I'm calling my own is actually gonna stay mine and stay upright. And while the interior was secure, there were still a few straggling zombies and skeletons hovering around the outside of the structure that I needed to clear out, taking a few hits in the process, but being able to secure the local area on top of the castle itself.
Finally, peace and quiet. Peace and quiet. For the first time in basically forever.
Next was turning my attention to the structure, as it was still mostly on fire. I have to parkour around some of the lower catwalks, breaking down the cobwebs and everything, getting up to the very roof of the building, finding a few loot chests in what is, or what will become, my master bedroom, eventually, when it's safe to do so, and having to punch out all of the fires on the nearby trees, as well as chopping down some of the burnt ones, just to get myself a little bit more resources. I actually, not gonna lie, I think this is metal as heck, so I think we're gonna go with the burnt logs for an overall aesthetic for the base. The only problem is I had a bit of a mess at the front wall, and by the time I cleared it out to replace it all with burned wood, a whole bunch of mobs had all made their way towards me. So I had to seal it a little bit frantically, having a single skeleton jockey make their way in and having my wolves come in clutch to defend me at the last moment. But as Matt Colville says, taking a keep is one thing. It's not yours until you've defended it.
Oh, come on. Oh, come already. Already burnt the whole place down. How much worse can it get? burn. That restarted some forest fires, but that should be okay for right now.
Once the horde was cleared, the following morning, I focused on working on the basement, just getting this place in a little bit better shape and organizing all the treasure that was left down here amongst all of the chests. There's armor trims, diamonds, a whole bunch of string, which is really, really important to have, but the whole place is kind of a mess at the same time. Doors are blocked, bookcases are all over the place, and the vibe, well, remember, I burned half of this basement, so it's kind of off. I had to use my lava bucket to clear out the last little bit of zombies that were still hovering from the horde, breaking down all of these spider webs with a sword. And the rain had finally put to rest the forest fire that I had started some 10 days ago.
Well, at least the rain put out the forest fire. We did it, Patrick. We saved the castle. Oh, I've caused so much destruction. Spooky little raccoon. You have no reason having your eyes glowing at night.
Thankfully, having raccoons outside being the most dangerous predator along the walls, I was able to get a good night's rest, where my attention turned to the main floor and still back to the basement a little bit, collecting all of the skulls, organizing all of the cobwebs, breaking down all of the bookshelves to make a proper enchanting space here along the wall, getting all of the odds and ends packed up into a few chests at the very front, and finding out that, oh, there's a nether portal hiding behind the wall here. Yo, there's a god apple in here.
And a portal, which might just be perfect.
So with ultimate healing finally at hand, I opened up the room to be able to access that nether portal later. We'll venture off to hell at some point in the future, keeping my attention on those earlier loot rooms and heading over to figure out what was inside that secret chest. It's mainly just a few mushrooms, but at least it's something, and I can have them growing for more in the future. I stashed all of the potential potion ingredients and enchanting materials over in the farmost room, putting all of the horse armors and other things in place, setting some more water to purify, and then heading around the castle to do a little bit of clearing, finding some different flavors of enemies waiting for me a little bit further back into the woods.
Well, hello, fellas.
And clearing them all out, taking a few crossbow bolts to the eyes in the process. I'm not gonna be able to visit the village anytime soon, but I'm really stamping my name as this being my territory. All right, day 3 in a row of me just focusing on fixing this place. I had really set this place on fire in order to take it. So cleaning off all of the soot, breaking down all of the broken, burnt catwalks and replacing them with solid and safe footpaths, and moving a bunch of materials, armors, and items into the barrels right here in the main storage room worked really well. I got the portal room closed off, so any nether materials wouldn't potentially leach out to the rest of the castle. Finding out that this place is infested with silverfish, which is a good reason to not dig into it and reconnoiter the whole structure, which is what I'm doing anyway. I made a bit of a storage room downstairs, stashing off all of the materials, breaking and replacing all of the bookshelves to get myself an optimum enchanting area. Crafting up all of the rotten flesh from all of the hordes and zombie fighting I had done to take this castle into leather chunks, which I could then smelt up to get myself some leather, stashing, categorizing, organizing, and supplying everything into perfectly organized, placed, and labeled chests. I didn't have a lot of leather to label everything, but the core basics are there, and I can take a lot of the burnt wood back up towards the upper level to complete and fix the throne room. And after 3 days of hardcore organizing and repair, the castle that I have is finally a little bit more livable, and I'm preparing to get into enchanting so that my gear can keep me alive for the long term. The only problem is I'm working into the night each night just to save myself time, and those dark nights are allowing mobs to collect outside. Manually dumping lava over the edges is kind of working to be able to defend myself without having to go out and do a bunch of fighting, but nothing beats a good old-fashioned stabbing when you have to go outside to do it. But this did get me thinking about castle defenses, and a most classic of castle defenses is a big old moat. So I made myself a diamond shovel and started heading out to repair the ground surrounding the castle, setting it up for a 2-block drop into a 3-block wide moat surrounding the entire place. Crafting up a few bows and levers, I made a dispenser which I was able to put the lava bucket into, which would allow me to, at the push of a button or the pull of a lever, set up a very nice deadly oil trap for all of the zombies that had been trapped inside that moat. Add the ability to kind of peek over the wall with F5 and we've got some actual rudimentary defenses right now.
That works really well.
The zombies won't pathfind into the lava, so I do have to shut it off occasionally, but at least now I can fight back in a little bit more of an automated fashion. The next morning, I immediately put that to the test and it worked beautifully.
It works.
Unfortunately, my luck didn't quite hold up.
Where did that creeper go? Oh, come on. That's annoying.
It took a little while to repair all of the damage, get items back in chests, get armor stands back in place, and being so focused on that, I kind of lost my focus for a moment. Oh, puppy, I'm sorry, puppy. I'm sorry, puppy, I didn't mean to do that, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm a horrible pet owner. Okay, maybe we don't put our storage on the opposite wall where we're going to be killing all of our mobs. Maybe, just maybe, that's not a smart thing to do. Maybe downstairs should be more of a bunker.
So with the decision that I probably shouldn't use the basement as my main storage, as that's the main place I'm going to be containing mobs within and immolating them with lava, I searched around the structure as a whole, checking out the master bedroom area, seeing that that's still a little bit too precarious and there's far too many holes in the floor for me to actually store anything in, doubling back down into the lower basement and just grabbing a whole bunch of materials that I could turn into chests and floor to make a storage room at the very bottom of the back left tower that I had taken over, the one that had the skeleton spawner up on the second floor. I made a whole bunch of chests, I labeled all of them, I put everything in place, and then slowly went through the process of moving and migrating all of the loot and materials up to the second floor, sleeping so it didn't get too late into the night, but unfortunately late enough that I had quite a few zombies and some zombified pillagers in the moat, and the moat continued to prove its worth.
Oh, I need to fix the... Needs to be flat. Oh, come on, really? That's what infects me? A little punch in the face?
So now I'm infected. We had the plague earlier, now we have the zombie plague. It's like the plague, but with more zombies. Before I wanted to take care of that, I needed to clear around the base, as the more zombies are around my castle, the more will be called there. They operate as a horde. So I had to put the effort in of clearing out and finishing off everything in the moat before heading up towards my storage room, making myself a golden apple, and going through with the cure.
Well, there goes another golden apple.
With the infection pushed back for now, I had to go and clear out a few of the skeletons that were hiding out at the very back of the trench, just out of range barely that I needed to actually jump in and fight, going off to collect a whole bunch of the peated dirt that exists around here, so that way I could use that to reinforce and rebuild the trench in a way that would truly trap mobs inside. There were a few bits of wool and mutton sitting on the ground that a few wild wolves were more than willing to provide, doing some manicuring of all of the vines along the sides of the castle so that the monsters that were collecting outside wouldn't be able to climb the walls. I took a little bit of my gold and used that to upgrade my backpack, giving myself some additional storage space, and the following morning crafted all of the string and wool that I had into plasters and then into bandages. This would allow me to have some high quality, high durability healing items because I want to go out and go on a bit of an adventure. First, I had to recover my boat from a zombie who had stolen it from me. First, heading over towards the lava pool just to get myself another bucket of the good hot stuff, then being slightly confused as to whatever happened right here. Ow. What? Oh, you... Where did that turtle go? They just went zooming. Where'd the turtle go? They're just gone. And then sailing along this giant river and turning south, where it led to even more swamps and an actual villager village, one filled with something that doesn't want to kill me for a change. There's a lot of slime, wool, paper, and so many useful things here, but also a few familiar faces.
Hi, Steven.
Beck! Hi, it's you! I wonder what you have to say about finding you on stream right now, or on video right now. You know what I mean. It's you! Ooh, trader. Blobfish. Crocodile.
I want a baby crocodile.
I worked my way through all of the village structures, seeing what each of them had to offer, being sure to also pick up a lot of the blue swamp lilies and the rice that was here, as both of those are going to be useful for either medicine or some high quality meals later on. There's also slime balls in some of the chests, so that's great. It's going to let me craft some redstone components that I might be able to put to good use, spending the night attempting to assist the village with defense. Once again, getting a little too close.
Oh, come on, again?
Really? So I crafted myself up a golden apple, but I didn't eat it just yet, as I didn't want to risk potentially getting reinfected after I had cured myself. So I thought, let's fight through the night, focus on attempting to save and protect this village, and do my part. Fighting as long as I could until my sanity started to drop a little bit too low than what I was comfortable for, heading into one of the houses and downing my gapple.
Okay. I let this go long enough and it's not worth actually turning for, so that's another golden apple down.
But the following day, with the weather clear and being able to see far in the daylight, turned out this village actually did have some witches inside. Well, next door.
Oh, that's a lot of witches. That's a lot of witches. Oh, goodness. Oh, nope, nope, and I'm slowed. Great. Oh, 20 seconds. That's horrific. I don't even think I can use this. Yeah, I can't even use the bandage. I can't even use the bandage because nothing's injured, and I can't risk getting injured because I only have one heart. This entire day is wasted now. Completely, totally wasted. Come on out. Come on out. Oh. Oh, shoot. Awesome. I didn't even know that that was there. Did that work? Okay, it's kind of working. I still don't have anything I can heal with. Notice there's damage pots, there's poison pots. Where's the golem? There's the golem. Come here. Go, golem, go! Go, golem, go! Come on, you're immune to poison. Oh, come on, come with me. Go first. Go first. Please go first. There you go.
But after spending the entire day on one heart, coaxing a golem to go out and fight for me, I refilled my canteen and rested.
Okay, health is back. I have to be, my canteen. I have to be insanely mindful of potion.
Being much more careful to avoid the poison potions from the witches, I returned back towards the town, but that didn't stop me from taking a few hits.
Oh, not again! Oh, but I'm hurt this time.
It's funny, actually. Poison, uncurable, but a broken ankle? Yeah, just wrap some cloth around it, you'll be fine. Keeping myself at just above half health, so that way I didn't need to worry about a single harming pot taking me out, I was able to finally get to and loot some of the higher tier structures here, finding some weird summoning circles and rituals up near the top of the place, but a massive amount of potion components, which could come in very handy. The only problem is storing them, so I had to upgrade my secondary backpack to gold, investing even more of my precious little gold into it, just so I could get all of those unstackable potion materials and completed potions into this chest. And look at that, that is 3 full rows of different potion effects, and I can't wait to put all of them to good use. Looting the final structure was more of the same, a lot more potion supplies, and potions work really well in the extended health system like this.
This is massive. Genuinely, I think this has set me up for the entire adventure.
And while I might be set up, the in-game me is not the only one going slightly insane.
There's dust on my screen. I thought it was a part of that.
But with newfound confidence from taking on the witch village here, I wanted to continue pushing outward, heading in an eastward direction, mainly because that's where the land was. I was able to loop my way across, finding a small hut with a few mushrooms and pieces of wheat abandoned inside, but a ton of pillagers standing here. And I took some hits right away, one of them blinding me with a crack shot. But I was able to recover, looping back around and attempting to figure out what all of these pillagers were guarding, just giving myself a bit of a wide berth. Trying to make sure I don't get flanked. I'm only taking shots from one direction, but there's a ton of pillagers and they keep spawning just naturally on the ground, and the alert radius is huge. So if I get close enough to fight one, odds are I'm fighting about a half a dozen actually.
It keeps seeing me from so far away. Nope, that's a captain. I don't have the mental energy for this right now. I'm already starting to feel pretty insane.
The biggest problem is the captains. I can't risk killing one of these banner captains and just edging a little too close towards one of the villages and triggering a raid on my way. I have no idea how much damage that would do. So I left that area for now, heading north, finding a small spruce village that had a little bit of high quality dirt and other supplies that I was able to grab from all of the chests around here. But the main thing is I couldn't fight at range, so I put down a fletching table to be able to convince one of the villagers here to trade in both sticks and arrows so I could supply myself for some projectile-based combat. But as it started to get a little bit darker here in the world, it also started to rain, meaning I'm going to be taking sanity damage on top of just having a whole bunch of mobs constantly approaching me, so I found my way to one of the nearby structures and rested. Running through the woods to be able to head my way back towards home, coming across a nether portal guarded by a single rogue vindicator. The best part, there was one gold block just sitting here in the world and another in the chest.
Oh my goodness. Full blocks of gold. That's amazing.
Hello, viewer. I want to play a game. For years, you've taken the sacred act of mining obsidian for granted. You laughed. You mocked. You thought yourself above the ritual, immune to the weight of tradition. But now, the time has come to test your patience and your will to endure. You have all enjoyed the privilege of watching obsidian break, effortlessly, without consequence. But did you ever stop to appreciate it? Did you ever truly savor those agonizing seconds as pixel after pixel chipped away? No. You fast-forwarded. You took it lightly. You never understood the cost. Today that changes. You will watch, and you will wait. Because until this channel reaches 700,000 subscribers, no obsidian shall break before your eyes again. For you, there are two choices. Subscribe or suffer. Make your choice.
Unfortunately, with Jigsaw continuing to interrupt your regularly scheduled video, we're just heading north now, throwing some leads on sheep and slowly walking them over towards the castle, having to break down the front door to make it too wide for them to be able to make their way inside. After that, it took a while just to figure out where I was going to put all of these potions. I actually kept all of the other materials up in the storage room, heading downstairs and instead turning the very center of the basement area into kind of a wine cellar / brewery, keeping all of the different categories of potions positive and negative in different barrels, setting up all of the different brewing stands right here opposite the nether portal, and don't mind that my wine is coming from hell. There's absolutely no commentary there. But as I headed upstairs, I was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. But with that trip over, it's time to finally get upgraded. We're almost a third of the way through this adventure, and I'm still rocking a gold chest plate, which is not going to protect me from the zombies for long. I've put a lot of options in here as far as what I can explore and go into, but a lot of them have a very basic requirement. First, getting to diamond gear. So I crafted myself up a diamond chest plate with some of the few raw diamonds that I had available, heading downstairs to see what enchants were available and not really getting anything good. It didn't help that I wasn't fully at level 30 though, so I made a few bookcases and then smelted up stone to get myself a stone cutter and then a grindstone so I could go down and re-roll properly on the enchant table to get what I wanted. While I was at it and still above level 30, I got efficiency 4 on my pickaxe, meaning I'm going to be able to do a little bit more building quicker. But now feeling a bit more protected, I headed out of the castle grounds, checking out a nearby structure that had a few mushrooms inside, which could be useful for potion brewing, and then stopping over at a nearby tree, having to constantly pillar up to get the whole thing because I don't leave floating trees. I am a professional. But modded trees are just so much bigger than vanilla ones, which means it's a much more bigger time investment. Heading across the river nearby, I found another small campsite structure, this filled with a few pillagers who had been kind of stuck inside trees, but the cabin right here, which I wanted to take shelter in as it was starting to get a little bit dark, was filled with vindicators with axes who hit really hard, forcing me to head it down to the water to avoid them being able to catch up to me and stab me, but standing there getting sopping wet really chews away at my sanity, so it's a bit of a lose-lose. It also had me almost freezing, so I had to huddle by the campfire while I relied on my bandages to heal me up before eventually heading inside the house to clear this structure. And this place was actually making me slightly insane. I'm not 100% sure why, but I tried to replace all of the candles with torches, thinking maybe candles were just considered spooky lighting, but the candles led towards something interesting.
Tavern. Ooh. Oh, that's a good old-fashioned maybe. The thought of even attempting to raid an ancient city in the middle of this apocalypse that is chewing away at my sanity is a complicated one. On one end, it doesn't really fit the theme. On the other end, it would be really metal if I did it. So I stored away the map for now, trying to get a little bit of rest, but having the few zombies who were crawling around outside of the house cause it so that I couldn't sleep, having to go inside and move the bed up to a higher floor to finally get some rest. But daylight doesn't get rid of the mobs. It just pushes the problem to later, so I had to go out on top of the roof to get into a bit of a bow fight with a few sniper skeletons around here, clearing all of them out and then fighting through all of the remaining mobs, having a creeper blow up a little bit earlier than I was expecting, really damaging this house and making it that I wouldn't be able to stay here another night. I'm not going to get my security deposit back on this, so I might as well double down, making myself a bit of a furnace and chopping down some of the walls for fuel and crafting materials to be able to purify my canteen before drinking everything and heading out, trying to figure out where this map
leads. I'm specifically looking for the one for the ruined town, as I think there might be some good materials in there, and towns are usually on the surface. Sailing out into the water, I found some ruins where I was able to get a whole bunch of good metals and a bunch of poison potatoes that I left in the barrel. Hello, this is future me. I will regret leaving this barrel behind. I will explain why in about 40 days. You know what me, again, now realizes? I was pushing out east, meaning I'm not gonna get what's on this map. I'm just pushing out into the wilderness, holding a map that's telling me go the other direction. And while I am directionally challenged, being out on the ocean leads to some really cool experiences. Hello, whale. Please don't eat me. Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. Trying to fight my way back onto the island and clearing out the last little bit of a pillager presence, I looted the supply chest and then kept pushing out, hitting another coastal town nearby with a few pirate ships off in the distance that I might want to potentially take on. But the village is my first priority, finding undamaged anvils, a bunch of iron, resources, supplies, meats, apples, and food, and a bunch of guard villagers around here that can help me take care of all of the threats so I can spend my time looting. I even picked up netherrack from the bottom of the blast furnace chimney because I don't know if that will be useful for some kind of crafting recipe if I can't potentially make it into the nether easily. But it's not like I expected all of this for free. I did spend a good portion of the night working with the guard villagers and golems to clear out zombies, having a brief rest going into day 30 and then clearing out the final few stragglers to make sure that this place was safe and secure. Across the river was a ruined tavern of some kind, covered in vines and cobwebs that I wanted to put the effort into exploring. That effort immediately paid off.
Oh, that's nice.
But believe it or not, the string here is actually one of the most valuable things. With all of the mobs basically being undead hordes trying to kill me, the common animals like the giant 6-foot spiders that inhabit Minecraft are far less common, meaning I'm running out of string to be able to craft up some really core crafting recipes. But with the tavern looted, I stopped by at the little Stonehenge looking structure here and desecrated an ancient temple for some money. So basically I'm British, going back in towards the village and grabbing a few other things that were completely left for me to take. So I really think I'm solidifying the joke here. Once my pockets were full, I headed out of town and started running over land, filled with cobwebs that I was able to break down for more string, but it really showed that the city planning here didn't go so well.
The houses just intersected with each other. That's hilarious.
But things were looking good. I had to mine up a little bit more cobblestone to make yet another furnace to once again purify my water canteen. It started to rain, but I could always just take shelter here in the night, and the night would be over quick, right?
Oh, no, 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 no. And it's raining, so I can't be up in the sky. No, 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 no. What's the building least likely to burn down? It's probably this one. Okay. Hi, Jorkser. We got this. There's a lot of them. Oh, look at all the zombies on the map. I'm gonna let my golem friend take care of you. Yes. Perfect. Oh, child! Child, no, no, no. The kid's a problem. Wasn't that bad? Nope. Oh, that was almost really bad. The thing is, it is actually still really bad. That is mean. That is a special level of mean. No, don't. Get that out of here. I hate that. We're just gonna sit here by the campfire, ignore the footsteps, and try not to scream. If you can't do it, nope. We're just kidding. This is a good campfire. I love this campfire. It's so nice. Get him! Get him! On second thought, we stay in the church. The church is safe, right? Church is totally safe. That'll be fine. I don't like it either. Voice in my head. One's about to set, isn't it? Yep. Well, that's not good. That's also not my problem. After 2 days of sanity breaking madness, I woke up in the tavern here, still having quite a few zombies running through the street that I needed to clear out. I'm starting to really think that this giant hole into the abyss right next to this town is probably a bit of a good indicator that it's not the place to stay long term. So I headed out of there across the fields and found myself a mighty steed. That horse is fast. We get back on land? We basically can. Now, here's the problem. I know how you tame horses in vanilla Minecraft. You just basically get on them a lot and eventually they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. But for some reason, it just wasn't working. I constantly got on and off of this horse several times and nothing happened. So instead, I leaded them behind me, drug them over towards the boat, and then drug the horse through the river, over land, through another river, and then through the woods, basically kidnapping this thing. Let's be completely honest here and call it what it is. Running into the castle to pick up a saddle and armor, thinking maybe that will help. Where'd that horse go? Okay, you can move.
So I don't know what it is. I don't know what was preventing me from taming this horse. I even went so far to try to feed it a few hay bales, maybe some golden apples. I accidentally smacked it once with my bow. Nothing seemed to work. It just didn't want to be my friend. So I tied it up to a hitching post in front of the castle and brought a boat out into the field to trap and kill an enderman before its presence could cause long-term damage to my sanity. It dropped an ender pearl, which was really nice to stash away, throwing a bunch of the other supplies and goodies from all of my trip and spending the remainder of the evening just dropping off and organizing everything I had collected so far. The castle was getting richer. I was getting better equipped, and I'm starting to think that we need to start thinking a little bit more long term. I grabbed a whole bunch of bone meal and other materials, looking into how to craft up more of that fancy dirt. The main thing I'm going to need is thatch, which I get from cutting plants with a knife, so I'm going to have to go make myself a knife. I headed out and tried to get that horse to be my friend. Still no dice. Going to the nearby river and throwing down some wood to start working on a little bit of a crop farming plot here, using all of the rich soil that I already had in place and then putting down the peated dirt from the mod pack around here just to really manicure and secure the area, drain out all of the water. And I was just slowly going insane all day, and I wasn't 100% sure why until I looked at my hotbar.
Why am I losing sanity? Because I'm hungry. It's because I'm hungry.
Now look, there's jokes to be made there because I have forgotten to eat in real life a few times while working on some of these videos. I get really immersed in what we're doing. So forgetting to eat inside of Minecraft, yeah, that actually kind of tracks, and I'm not sure how to exactly feel about that. But I finished getting at least as much of the farm done as I could right now, putting down all of the compost so it would turn into rich soil, having cleared a spot that would be in the future used for growing a bunch of rice, and then hiding inside and feeding myself so that I wouldn't go insane out in the darkness. The next day, with a hoe in hand, it's time to finally get that thing actually running, putting down some barrels, a composter, and tilling all of the dirt around here, making a small hand-dug path from the entrance of the castle over towards the farming area. It winds through the trees and will need a little bit of cleaning up as I had to get rid of a lot of underbrush, as well as that one small tree that was just kind of growing out of the side of the hill in front here, using a little bit of that wood to set up some very small barriers before grabbing a bunch of rice, a bunch of bone meal, and making myself another cutting board. Planting all of the rice outside, bone mealing all of that so that it could grow, and then using the knife to cut all of that to make the thatch that I could then turn into compost using a bunch of rotten flesh. The only problem here is that the peated dirt doesn't work. It only works with good old-fashioned vanilla Minecraft dirt. So I had to go out and searching for it, or at least I will in the morning. Instead, I ground the enchantments off of my helmet, and since I was above level 30, decided to give it another shot.
Oh, that's perfect. That's huge. Absolutely huge.
But I headed out in the night to do a little bit of night digging. There's absolutely nothing creepy about people who are just randomly digging holes in the middle of the night. The following morning, I really didn't want to take no for an answer.
No, it didn't work. Oh, I thought that would work. I need this horse to tame.
So having to forcibly take no for an answer, I headed out to some nearby coarse dirt patches, hoeing it to be able to get good old-fashioned regular dirt, which I could then turn into the compost back near base. But I wasn't alone out here.
Oh, hello. Hello, Jake. You came out of nowhere. Your name is not Brant? So, do that. Oh, I look amazing. I don't know if I should be concerned about that. Probably should do something with those rats. Be worried about those rats.
I spent the rest of the day mumbling to myself about the rats and the jakes that are living inside my walls, spending the time primarily focused on setting up more compost so that I could grow all of these crops at an accelerated rate, planting a few of each different kind of seed, and primarily using my bone meal on the rice, and then chopping a bunch of the random grass and tall grass around the castle to be able to get as much thatch as possible, to be able to get as much compost as possible. Having the whole thing about half done before the day was pretty pretty much over that feels pretty productive, and I'm starting to think that I'm in here for the long haul. The next morning I decided, since I'm putting down roots here, I really need to put the effort in to make this place a livable space. Whenever it rains, I start to go crazy, so it makes sense to grab a whole bunch of the wood and go upstairs to that master bedroom area and start repairing the space so that it was A, waterproof, and B, potentially could actually be used as a bedroom at some point in the future. I tried to keep with the existing shape of the structure overall, just mainly patching in all of the holes and leaving the spots where the embers were still glowing, as I really love the look of that. It just makes for an amazing vibe. But after I had taken care of all of the floating blocks, I had cleared out all of the mess that I had made, I started walking in on messes that were being made completely regardless of me. On second thought, let's just let that go for right now. But after working on the roof, I needed to do a little bit of maintenance on the moat that I'm digging around the castle. First, getting rid of some vines that would allow zombies to climb up and out of the danger zone, and then expanding said danger zone so it would start working and looping its way around the back of the base. And it's a really good thing that I worked on the roof because, well, it started raining. Nope. Rain bad. Rain bad. So I headed back inside, and now that the base was actually protected, I was able to work inside without having to worry about any sanity. So I turned my attention towards the one tower that was still all charred and most of the floors had been burned away. Working my way up the structure before hearing some distressing sounds outside. No, my horse. I wanted that horse. I'm genuinely pissed off. I'm genuinely upset. I was so excited to have a fast horse, medieval king, fast horse, and all of that. Now it's dead. Oh, I'm annoyed. After putting the moat to good use, I headed to take out a few of the stragglers who refused to climb into the lava, how inconsiderate of them, and then worked on completing the tower, getting up to the chest at the very top, and I can't believe I had left this here this long. Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. I got down multiple floors to prevent this from being a lethal fall damage, having set up a couple different access points and primarily getting rid of the unburnt and scorched wood to keep the whole thing in a very consistent vibe. It's a very Harrenhal kind of look, but I'm going for the Burnt Citadel. That just sounds like a really epic name. One worthy of a king who had survived an apocalypse this long, even though the king has to go and do his own tree chopping and his own moat digging. So it's more of a solitary individual kingdom right now. I guess I'll get to the whole ruling and telling other people to do all of my work at some point in the future. And I'm also the chief scientist, as the next morning I had to craft up a whole bunch of bows to make myself a whole nother set of dispensers, which I'm going to use to expand out on the lava pouring defenses that I've set up around the castle so far. There were a few skeletons that I really had to deal with, taking more shots than I feel comfortable with and getting a splitting headache from all of the damage. Actually looping around to set off the lava dispenser to take care of the skeletons that were stuck down in the trench, going and setting up a second one and trying to set it up so that the lava would directly intersect between them. I have to be careful that it's not going to set all of these vines on fire, that fire could crawl all the way up to my roof and burn the whole thing again. And I don't think the lava can cause the fire to spark through the wall. So having these multiple concurrent lava dispensaries right next to each other, I have a pretty solid defense across the entire side of the structure. I won't get any drops from this, I won't get any experience from this, but I will stay alive. And staying alive is pretty important. Speaking of experience though, taking out those skeletons did get me up to level 30. So I headed down into the enchanting area to see what I could find for my pants, getting a real big upgrade with protection 4, meaning I'm gonna be able to tank a lot more damage and deal with a lot more of those arrows. But it was once again raining, but thankfully rain in Minecraft doesn't always logically make sense. So as long as I stood underneath the flag that was waving here, I was fine. Not not sure what the giant floating burning blue creature in the sky was, I did what any medieval king would do. Ran around to another part of my base that I had a little bit of a closer shot and sniped it out of the sky with a longbow. Look, I might be the chief scientist, but I'm still a king. And I'm still a Minecrafter. The following morning, I headed out to see what that thing had dropped, having to fight my way through a few zombies wielding broadswords and a few skeletons wielding bows. The latter's a bit more problematic, but if you close the distance, you turn it into a more of a melee brawl. But the drops from that flying flaming thing, it was just a few pieces of redstone. I'm not sure if maybe I had done something wrong or I had missed it. Heading back towards the house, I took out a few creepers and then worked on just moving a few things inside, getting myself a potable water source here in the basement of the structure, and then smelting up and making a second canteen of water so I could double my purified water supply, allowing me to head out a little bit further. Then I turned my attention to food, as I need to start actually eating like a king.
Beetroot, tomato, rice. Oh, we have a lot of mutton. And beetroot.
Having myself a lot of mutton to work with feels, kind of thematically appropriate. So I headed out towards the garden to make a whole bunch of compost and to turn a lot of the rich soil, which had finished converting, into space for beetroot, cabbage, and chopping a lot of the rice to make even more compost to expand the farm even further. And yes, I'm actually making a meal with beetroot. This is one of the mod packs where it's actually useful. And the fact that I have beetroot seeds is actually also good for making more healing herbs. I invested a bunch of bone meal into all of those ingredients, growing a whole bunch of tomatoes really quickly, heading back inside the house to start combining and smelting things. I would need to cook up the rice, but for that, I would need a cook pot, and for that, I would need to venture out the following morning. Day 40, and we're 2/5 of the way through this thing. I cleared out the zombies that were lingering around the house, chopped up all of the mutton out here in the farming area, and then headed out to get a little bit of clay that I'd be able to convert into bricks. I smelted one wood chunk on the campfire, set all of the different mutton to cook in the different smokers and furnaces here, smelted up the clay into bricks, grabbed myself a bucket of water, and I was finally able to make myself a cook pot right here on the hearth, right here in the throne room. Using that, I could fry all the rice in a boiling cook pot, and don't think about that too hard, it doesn't really make sense for me either. Using a ton of wood to craft up 2 full stacks of bowls, because bowls are just absolutely awesome here. Using that to bowl up all of the rice and then setting all of the cooked mutton with vegetables. Now, this is superfoods. Eating this is going to give me long-term saturation improvements on top of just what it does in the moment. But for that, I'm gonna need more sheep. So I headed over towards the Eldritch Abomination of ladder sheep, chopped down the ladder, the other random blocks in here, and set up a proper pen. Having to lure everything back inside because I had made the mistake of not putting a gate on this thing once they were no longer trapped on the fence. Doing some breeding of animals, which helps offset the sanity loss of running around in the rain. Standing inside my castle, which still says it's raining inside, but it is objectively not, as I can stand on my throne, really celebrating how far I've come. Because it's time to do what any good king would do and go on a crusade, and what better place than hell? I headed down to break and reform the portal, setting up to something that was actually lightable, throwing myself a flint and steel, and running into the nether to explore. And it isn't the barren wastes of other worlds with random trees and growths and grass all around here, but it's also immensely hot. So much so that even with the heat resistance from my diamond armor, it's not enough for me to actually survive in here, and I'm dealing with heat thirst and would inevitably burst into flames if given more time. So I had to run back to the overworld, even just sitting in the little puddle I have right here to cool myself off. I started looking at different options at what I could use to get myself some additional heat resistance, and heat resistant thread, that would be useful. Some desert armor, not very protective, but it would keep me with the heat damage. Or I could go find some cold ferns somewhere around here, and maybe that could be converted into cold thread. All of that is a much longer term puzzle for me to unlock. So I headed back out to do a bit more farming and work on my food when Jake from probably not State Farm returned back.
Hello, Jake. Again? Filth. Ugh. Thanks, Jake.
So after doing a little bit of trading with the local plague doctor, I need to head out and find either ice fern or get myself a whole bunch more leather. So I took a look on the map, threw down my boat, and started sailing south, running through several swamps and hitting an amazing set of jumps on lily pads. This king's got moves, making my way south in the swamp here, finding a single mangrove hut, eliminating the current owner, and seeing that it was now abandoned, it's now mine. I grabbed a few of the potions from the brewing stand in here, drank all of the water, took care of the very spooky candles that were making me go insane. But the problem is this hut is not my castle, meaning I don't have my defenses and I don't have nearly the space to protect me from the mobs that wander in the darkness.
Oh, that's not cool. My sanity is dangerously low. I think I just need to wait out the night. I really don't like that, but I think I just need to wait out the night. And hear them equipping armor, which is not great. Well, this is a problem. This is a very big problem. I really don't like this. Okay. Daytime, 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 daytime. Let's heal. Okay, we're out of healing. We're out of healing. We're going insane. And I'm surrounded by zombies. What more could go wrong? I'm a pretty princess. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. Gonna be fine.
Having recovered at least a monicum of my sanity, I broke my way into an abandoned tavern that I found here, getting a few pieces of iron, but a couple golden apples, which is good. It serves as a zombie cure. The attic was filled with a bunch of cobwebs, gold, all stuff that I grabbed, all stuff that's useful. Heading out along the riverbank, I found a small little abandoned farm that had hay bales and a couple emeralds in the chest. Up and over the hill here, and we're into a slightly more modern looking village, a place that had survived so far through this zombie apocalypse, and I think I have a hint as to why.
Why do they all have a potion effect?
But having seen villages like this before, I knew if I headed up towards the very top of the structure, dug through the walls, and went to check out the bell tower here, I could be rewarded, and had a little cheeky sign to boot.
Oh, I broke the sign. There's a sign that says basically like, you paid attention, good job.
It basically just said, hey, good eye, but as I continued running around the village, I stumbled across another ruined nether portal, getting some gold obsidian and some glistening melons, returning back to town under torchlight with a whole bunch of zombies screaming around. Taking a few out to try to protect the villagers, some had already succumbed, unfortunately, including a few of the guards, and that was not a good sign for the village's long-term prospects, so I figured let's sleep through the night and reset. And while I napped, it very clearly went badly for everybody else here, as I had to eliminate several other villagers who had fallen to the dark side. And speaking of dark, it was really dark, with a cavernous pit right here next to the village, filled with creepers and other mobs and all of the guards, which is why they weren't around protecting other people. But the mobs dropped something useful for me.
Smite. That's actually huge.
Smite is actually the god tier enchantment for this challenge. Almost everything I'm dealing with is undead, and having that be even more effective than sharpness means I want to lean into that, and I'm saving that sword for when I'll really need it. Heading out of town, I found a small pillager encampment that I made sure to take out, really seeing a pattern that I'm not sure why just yet.
Why does everybody have potion effects now? Oh, backpack.
I grabbed an additional backpack and a bunch of rose plants here, which could be useful for crafting additional garlands. Heading over towards the swamp, but seeing something slinking underneath the water and deciding I don't want to fight alligators on top of everything else I'm dealing with right now. Running across the swamp and getting to a point where I would once again need to boat away. And it is here, my dear viewer, where I encountered the thing that I hate the absolute most in any of the dimensions that I travel across, these little sky rats.
No, one of my food. That's my good food.
I hate with every fiber of my being. I hate these seagulls. The worst thing I add to any mod pack. But having dealt with the absolute scourge of the multiverse, I jumped onto a boat on open water and started sailing along the coast, finding another small kind of firewatch tower right here that I was able to climb and find a few fireworks and notes hidden inside.
Oh. Blue moon. Blue moon. Interesting. Oh, also helmet can go on. Might be worth pushing for. My boat. Here's my boat.
Feeling lucky, and not just because the title told me so, I worked my way across the swamp towards a nearby tower. This one really populated by pillagers, but having a few undead harrowing it at all times across the swampy, flooded ground. I'm thinking that's what was causing the pillagers to focus elsewhere, allowing me to kind of waltz in somewhat unchallenged, allowing me to loot the treasure chests near the top of the tower, and then once realizing I was out of water, I was able to refill my canteens out of their cauldrons and use their furnaces to be able to purify that supply. While that ran, I found and had a few of the pillagers return, easily dispatching them, and then heading back up to the very top of the tower to look out across the swamps and see just how much the undead had started to gather. Resting, as there was no more use for the luck effect, I headed out the following morning, taking care of a few of the last stragglers of this faction of pillagers, and then heading north. Doing my best to avoid anything that would want to eat me, either for brains or just for sustenance, I sailed along the more flooded areas of the swamp before making it back to semi-dry land and the swamp village that I had visited some 20 days before. Running over a lot of their pathways, I was able to sail up the river right towards the burnt keep. But the pillagers had heard what I had done, sending a battalion to go meet me at my castle. And their piercing crossbows took care of my shield, meaning I was taking a few hits, which gave me a hell of a splitting headache. It also meant that I was once again marked by their bad omen, and I wouldn't be able to visit any villages anytime soon unless I was willing to risk a raid. But my first priority right now is dropping off all of the supplies I had collected, the food stores that I had shored up, and throwing all of the potion ingredients into the downstairs potion brewery wine cellar area. After that, I used all of the bone meal from any skeletons that I had encountered from my sanity breaking event to get a whole bunch more flowers and turn that into a lot more healing herbs. Heading out towards the farm to do a little bit more resource gathering, I got jump scared hard.
Oh my god. Okay. Defense mode, defense mode, defense mode, defense mode, defense mode. That gave me a heart attack. Oh, rats too. Interesting. Burn. Okay. The rats are inside the castle. Oh, what do I do about that? Oh, no. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling uneasy right now. Okay, I feel bad about that one. They burrowed through the walls! Yeah, you think? That was terrifying. I don't even know if it's done. After a traumatizing night, I had to go through and re-secure the castle. First dealing with a few of the zombies that were just lurking outside of the gate, using the lava I have on both sides to burn those that had been caught inside the moat, and then finding out that the nether portal that was still open was allowing others to waltz in from another dimension. But I'm not worried about my basement just yet. I need to take care of the monsters that are at my walls, clearing out all of these skeletons and zombies that were waiting just outside before going in and checking first the tower, as I was hearing mob sounds up on the upper floors of my castle, and then actually going to the basement, taking out a singular zombie who I still to this day don't have any idea how they made their way inside. But the next thing I needed to do was to take care of the rat problem, throwing a whole bunch of materials that I had collected, making myself a whole bunch more bandages to deal with all the damage I had taken, and then grabbing some more sturdy materials to work on the very bottom of my gate here, hoping, just
hoping that they can't burrow through stone. I really hope that rats can't burrow through stone because that is a terrifying implication. But I would need more wood, and I want to better secure my outer walls, meaning the trees that are right here next to my castle that serve as a bit of a climbing risk, they gotta go. And it's time to start digging out the same moat defenses that I have on this side of the castle. Setting up lava here will be my next priority, as if another horde comes knocking, the direction that they approach from basically determines on whether or not my defenses are effective. I broke down a few of the cobwebs that I had to make myself another bow, to make myself another dispenser, and put another lava dispenser in the exact same position, mirroring the first one that I had placed so long ago. Repeating the same defenses and entry point so I could enter the terraces of the throne room, I headed down to the stonecutter that is definitely not used for torturing purposes to set up stairs so I'd be able to move from point A to point B safely. Thinking I should craft myself up a few pistons that I can use to secure this area and lock down these gates behind me if a horde happens to break through the front door so I could barricade myself in the throne room. Those upgrades have me feeling safer about this place, so much so that I was able to actually get a full night's sleep. Crafting up a second sticky piston to repeat the same defenses on the opposite side, getting everything in place that I could fully secure the throne room if necessary. It was then time to use the new lava dispenser on this side of the castle to clear everything out, dealing in a much more manual way on the opposite side, and then finally heading out to the farm to chop down a bunch more thatch and take care of a few of the different plant issues I have around here. After that, I needed more lava to populate these defenses, grabbing a few buckets and swimming my way back over, seeing that the compost I had put down had turned into more rich soil, so I can continue working on expanding the farm and putting that to use to make the materials I need for my higher quality foods. I did a bit of maintenance on all of the vines that were continuing to grow around the castle, finding a spot to put another lava dispenser down in place and loading all of those as it headed towards the evening, dropping off all of the random supplies and miscellaneous things I had collected when those defenses would be put to the test.
Can I catch a dang break? Oh my... Oh, puppy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, puppy, I'm sorry. Sorry, puppy.
After another intense night, I secured off a few of the wolves that I had, who I'm mainly just using for my sanity buff, clearing out the remaining mobs in the trenches around the house and repairing and replacing the door, getting the gate back in place, being very thankful we had bred up our sheep because we had lost one amongst the fight, and then clearing out the final few stragglers, going to repair and put fences back into place, condensing down all of the rotten flesh I had collected into leather chunks, then smelting those up so they would actually turn into leather, and then taking a look into what I can do with all of the spirits here. First, I grabbed a whole bunch of torches, and I'm using that to just thinking maybe I'll go mining. It's been so long fighting on the surface, I need to go out and get supplies, but copper actually spawned on the surface right here, saving me from a potentially sanity draining challenge and allowing me to double back towards home quickly. Going back home and setting that all up to smelt, I ascended one of my higher towers, hopefully far enough up that the zombies wouldn't be able to smell me, just surveying where they were lurking out in the woods and the darkness, but not wanting to wait too late into the night and calling it there. And the following morning, it turns out my moat had captured myself a friend.
It's Jay. Oh, I don't want anything to do with that. Contaminated food, filth. Jay, I'm sorry, but you have absolute trash. You can stay in the moat.
So without anything good to get from Jay, I returned back towards my storeroom to focus on what I was building towards. I made myself a copper cauldron and a few goblets, taking the floor directly above the barracks floor and setting it up as a rudimentary kind of enchanting workshop smithy wizard kind of place. You see, you can make this great chalice, which you can put down and start filling with spirits, and the animation for it is so very cool.
Cool, let's do it again. Ooh, I love the pretty little animation. Oop. Let's make rolls for Essen.
But it's not just because there's shiny particles involved. This can allow me to make some really intensely powerful armor, stuff with passive and active abilities that can overcome some of the dangers of this zombie apocalypse. I grabbed a whole bunch of more supplies and materials to decorate this space to make it a whole lot nicer, to frame the chalices that I had found, and then did a bit of research into exactly which of the armor sets I would want to go into. And there was a few different options, all of them with potential benefits, but I think I have a good idea. That also led me to kind of dig through and see what I could do for heat resistance, and there's a sombrero that I could buy from a wandering trader. Don't know if I'd ever see that, and it's slightly off theme, but it could work, maybe. But after a ton of digging through menus, which might not be the most interesting, let past me explain to you what I'm thinking.
What's a Ratman eye? I can go evoker, bow, that requires a scale, straw hat, or apple. Whoa, wait. Passive healing at night? Regeneration when killing a monster. I think this is the set, the witch set. This is huge. Grants regeneration when killing a monster. If I go full set on this, it's just red concrete powder, which I can just make. I think it's worth doing because just passive regen is it's just huge.
Okay, and now here is where something is gonna happen, which I swear, sometimes it even makes me think that these videos are scripted, but you wouldn't believe what happened next.
That's just a regular wandering trader. I need to find them. They have a sombrero. That's huge. Huge, 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 huge. I can explain that when I'm inside. Okay, so we're slightly losing the theme here, but it tracks. This thing, 4 heat resistance. This thing combines the heat resistance of my entire armor set into one armor piece. meaning that this set is potentially viable. So I'm just gonna bookmark it for now. That combined with some leather armor makes it so that I can go to the Nether. We can go to the Nether.
All right, so with the Nether suddenly on the table, I headed out to refill my water canteens and then start those on refining, doing a little bit of investigation into the desert armor set. And yes, I'm pulling from 200 days ago, but sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches for whatever the challenge sets your way. I needed a bit more leather for all of that, and I knew where to find a bit of it just waiting out in the pit. Crafting up a full set and then heading down to my enchanting area to get it enchanted with as much protection as I could safely put on it. Combining the sombrero with 2 pieces of the leather armor set, well, it might not be on theme, but it's definitely a theme.
It doesn't really go with the medieval theme, but it's the only way we're gonna survive in the Nether. Oh no.
Heading back up, I grabbed myself a crossbow, went back to the basement to enchant it just to get a little bit more oomph out of any shot that it could fire. Hearing sounds around the castle, going out and exploring, and before I could go to the Nether came to me.
What the heck? Oh no! I'm infected again. His armor is awful for infection. And look at how much damage I took too. Alright, let's do this.
Okay.
Got one option here. Get me out, 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 get me out. Puppies and campfires, puppies and campfires, puppies and campfires. Okay. Puppy, help. I think there's monsters everywhere. That's how that works. Okay. Oh. When did you therapy after? So as I was sitting there contemplating how I could add new things as business expenses, I headed out onto the ramparts to literally confront my inner demons, stabbing away at this glitching, shadowy monstrosity, and it just won't die. Having it chew away at my sanity, the more I look at it, I'm thinking that might not be a good idea. Heading inside, sealing myself up, and throwing down all of the torches I can to light this place up so it would be more conducive to long-term mental health. I'm not gonna worry about the giant Reaper shadow that's now caught in my moat, or the glitchy tooth-infested Enderman that's teleporting around my ceilings. Instead, I'm thinking maybe we should just never go to the Nether again.
No.
And with one more demon, mainly harrowing you instead of me, things are better left undiscovered, I think. I headed back up to my storeroom, deposited all of my nether-related armors, and switched back into full diamond, protecting myself from the dangers that are waiting around here, breeding a few animals to increase my sanity, cutting the last few cobwebs to get myself a bit more string, which I could theoretically turn into more dispensers for security, but then going and crafting myself up a clock and a calendar, thinking it would be useful for seeing where we stand in the weather cycle. And I had forgot to install the seasons mod. I guess subconsciously I knew going insane would probably be enough of a challenge that having all of my food freeze in the last 25 days of this one probably wouldn't be a good idea. Besides, I have more than enough to deal with. Can I please catch a break? Oh my God. Look at all of them.
Just look at them all coming in. This is wild. Ow. Nope. Hate that. I hate that that's there. I hate that that's up there. Finally. With another horde night behind me, there were still straggler zombies that I had to snipe out of all of the moats here or rely on the lava to burn the final few ones, but I wanted to leave a good portion of the XP and supplies around the moat available so I could potentially enchant and upgrade my gear. Turning my attention over towards the farming area, I started focusing on the crops before realizing I had picked up some weird things from the mobs here. Y'all is just hat. Oh, hello. But I'm not letting the hordes or the end of the apocalypse or the end of the world or my own sanity get in the way of doing some good old-fashioned farming. Getting the crop plot about 2/3 complete and then planting some potatoes, onions, and carrots as I'd be able to use those for additional food sources in the future. It was also just time to leave. I'm thinking maybe a change of scenery would help my sanity, would allow those shades and shadows to potentially dissipate. Returning back to the place that I had been camping out in oh so long ago, just to pick up the few supplies that I had had to leave behind at the time when a harvest moon rose, and my whole idea of a vacation was immediately turned on its head as I doubled my way back in the absolute darkness, sailing along the river to get myself back towards my farm. Extra crops and extra drops are 100% worth the little bit of sanity I have to pay fighting multiple zombies coming and harrowing me throughout the night, allowing me to get so much more food and set myself up with a haul for the long term. That was until I hit about midnight, maybe a little bit after, when the mobs were replacing themselves faster than I was killing them, so I wasn't actually making progress and I had to call an end to the harvest moon early. But the following day, with all of that taken as much advantage of as I could manage, it was time to try that trip again, sailing back out a little bit earlier this time, making it to the tower that I had been in and much further, sailing around to a town that was right here. I had just missed it heading in the opposite direction and running around and grabbing a little bit from all of the chests here, mainly grabbing the rotten flesh as I could convert that into leather for more books, armor, and other supplies. The blacksmith was especially profitable. Oh boy, thank you. Thank you, Jarrett. And the butcher was useful for some other foodstuffs, heading to a small island right here, taking out the pillagers that were hovering around and using the water to defend myself from the Vindicator, who got me down pretty low, actually. Ow. Sailing out from there, I found an abandoned ship, chests and spawners hidden amongst the barrels, a bunch of coal and fish, and creepers in the hold. Now, this boat is almost certainly no longer seaworthy, but thank you, Minecraft physics, it's definitely not going to sink. I looted all of the chests, being very excited at getting a few sponges from here. I don't know how they could be useful, but they might be. Finding a bunch of skeletons rattling around near the front of the ship, and a few pistons that also make me think that I had missed some of the redstone to be able to activate access to these compartments. Bringing the spawners late in the night, having the final few skeletons that it had created, giving me a little bit of a fight for control of the ship, but I am the captain now, grabbing the last little bit of treasures from all of the barrels, stuffing it away in my backpack, and getting myself some sleep on the seas. Once the sun had rose, it was time to disembark and head back out on my adventure. Sailing through a few rivers to get more inland, coming across another village here, which had more than enough to offer to their glorious king. The thing I was actually the most excited about finding here was a whole bunch of iron, as I really hadn't had had the ability to go mining at all in this 100 days so far. So any resources I can plunder from structures on the surface is probably best for my sanity. After rooting through the garbage and running towards the fields, it started to thunder and lightning with the seagulls flying overhead, so probably the most terrifying thing of the whole adventure, as I headed over towards another pillager encampment, using the shelter here to clear out from the rain, having a few zombies and other mobs spawn as it had gotten dark enough with the thunderstorm to allow them to move their way in. But not wanting to deal with the sanity losses and risks of fighting and freezing in a thunderstorm, I made my way back towards the village, tag-teamed a few zombies with the iron golem, and called it a rest early since the storm allowed for that. The following morning, I headed out to continue exploring, finding out that a few children from the village had ventured out a bit too far and were now just a little bit hungry. But on the other side of the woods nearby here was a small fishing town. Well, a couple huts that directly surrounded a lighthouse. There's a bunch more villagers here and a ruined nether portal with some gold that I definitely wanted to grab, as well as looting all of the barrels, getting a whole bunch of fish which I could potentially turn into other meals. I made sure to stab any seagulls that I saw so I wouldn't have my good food being stolen by them, checking out a lot of the other barrels and then heading up towards the top of the lighthouse to see what I could see. There was these awesome frog lights right here which could make for a really cool light source in the castle, so I went to mine all of those up, finding a singular gold block in the middle of that cluster, which is a nice bonus. Heading down to the lower levels, I found a few armor trims and a map, and this one I was actually able to follow in the correct direction. I can occasionally do that, having it point me towards a buried treasure chest in the middle of the lake right here next to the lighthouse. Now this swim isn't good for my sanity, but it is good for my financial prospects. Swimming out and down into the lake did net me a few diamonds, but it did have me cold, insane, and somewhat freezing. I had to double my way back towards the town, just trying to find something that I could burn to potentially get myself a little bit of warmth, instead only finding valuable vegetables and foodstuffs hidden in the barrels outside of the lighthouse. So I turned and headed north for a while, venturing through the woods, trying to find another structure as it started getting a little bit later into the night, finding a small tower that was once again filled with zombies and cobwebs, this one having an active spawner that took a little bit to get up towards, and then having a lot of vines and trapdoors to fight with to find some blocks, and I do mean blocks, of gold and iron sitting at the top here. A huge gain at the end of a very successful day. I slept on top of the tower and continued pushing out into the wild the following day, making it towards a small tavern from the look of it that had been taken over by some local bandits. Clearing out the problematic people out front, I found a treasure map inside which pointed to a conduit much further north than where I currently was, and looking at just how far out, it would probably be several days journey just to get there, and I'm kind of running low on rations and need to think about doubling back. I looted the chest here, took out a few vindicators and other things, and sailed my way in another new boat towards a burned grave. Okay, the graves are trapped. The graves are trapped. Maybe we move away from the very obviously trapped graves. That booby trap did kind of give me a second little reminder that I was very far away from my safe castle. Looking at all of the maps that I had, I thought maybe it would be smart to start doubling back. It had been a while since a blood moon or a horde had happened, and if any of those catch me out in the open, I'm probably as good as dead. So I spent the remainder of the day doubling back. Since I knew where I was going, I was able to get there a lot faster, making it back towards the burnt keep right as the sun was setting, spending a good portion of the evening just delooting, deboxing, placing everything away, and then refilling on water, food, other supplies, and a final bit of rest. The next morning, it's time to take all of those diamond and loot that I had collected and do some upgraded. I crafted up a diamond morning star for myself, heading down into the basement to get it enchanted. Oh, that's really good. We could put looting on it too. That's awesome. I just made an anvil. And I had an anvil.
But I made it. You know what? Iron is cheap. I had 2 anvils. I had 3 anvils. I have 4 anvils. I had all the anvils. And while I'm good on anvils, I need steel, and for that, I need to make a blast furnace. So I headed out to get myself a whole little bit of cobblestone, and then went over to check on the village, finding a few zombies hiding underneath some of the aquifer overhangs, and then going into the village proper, realizing I might have a second chance. There's a horse. There's horses. Oh, we can get horses. Wanting to get myself a new mount, I went to loot a bunch of the rooms here, passing by a blast furnace in my effort to find a few other odds and ends, grabbing some wood, some stone, and opening up all of the fences to release all of the iron golems so they could do their part in defending the village. And the village was oddly quiet. I was hearing a lot of "hrrr," but I couldn't see anyone anywhere. That was until I rounded the corner and found most of the village trapped in a 1x1 hole. It's basically the whole village. And you know how I had said that I was getting concerned on my adventure out that there hadn't been a blood moon for a while? Okay, all right. Now, I didn't want to run the risk of a rush across the field in darkness, and actually fighting here alongside all of the golems and the guards is probably my best bet. Since I don't have the walls of the castle to protect me, greater numbers is probably useful. Greater numbers like all of those villagers, once again stuck in another 1x1 hole. It's almost like they have 0 self-preservation, but I'm doing my best to make sure they survive. There's a lot that's making its way towards this town. If I wasn't here, they would probably have all gotten infected because the golems are doing great, but they're not perfect, and they don't protect against creepers. And while the golems were taking care of all of the undead, the explodey ones kept making their way past their lines and to me. And every time I took a little bit of damage from one, I took a pretty big hit to my sanity. Plus, just fighting through the night against the undead will make anybody a little bit stressed. So I hit the point where the whispers started working their way in, and I made my way up onto a roof just to protect myself, to give myself a little bit of height from everything that was around here, and a little bit of cover from the skeleton shots that were constantly pouring in. I stayed up there until the morning, letting the golems do the tail end of the work of defending the city. Heading into the horse stables here, just trying to tame them, trying to get myself a mount, and the only thing I got was more damage. Okay. It's time to leave. It's time to go. Running my way back through the woods with all of the auditory hallucinations happening around me, getting through the gate and just camping out by my pets, trying to get myself sane enough so that the sounds would stop. I emptied out my backpack from all of the looting and fighting I had done throughout most of the night, plus the tithes that I had collected from my nearby villagers, putting a little bit of that to work, getting myself a good meal, which is definitely good for the brain, and then went through the arduous task of smelting up all of the stone to make myself a blast furnace, you know, like the one that I had passed in the village that I only noticed when I was doing voiceover and I didn't notice in the moment. Once that was in place, I started smelting up a bunch of iron into steel, which would allow me to make a few very unique items. Oh, nice. It's a shield without like always being on screen. Pretty good. It just can't be enchanted. But less good. But having upgraded my offense, my defense, it's time to upgrade my within the fence as I'm focusing on my master bedroom. Cleaning out a little bit more of the random burned wood, trying to make it look a little bit more intentional, filling in the gaps in the floor, taking away the very scorched bed that's right here, and just making space for occasional storage in the future. Just as I was about to get the uppermost roof of this whole thing enclosed, another horde approached. Get up. Great. Oh, great. Where's the... There they are. Here come the rats. Here come the rats.
Thankfully, I'm taking on this one from within my castle walls. With my defenses all in place, I'm able to rain down hell in the form of lava from the dispensers I have around all of my stronghold. Oh boy.
They're just burning from like smushing together.
The burnt castle will not fall, but I might if I'm not careful.
Oh my god, that almost made me fall to my death.
Trying to not let the sounds that are only in my head convince me to have a very painful and bitey evening, I worked my way through a few zombies that were collecting at the door, running out of crossbow bolts, needing to craft up everything I could with whatever feathers I had left. But once the horde was over, I slept through the night just to regain sanity, heading out in the morning to finish clearing out the remaining zombies. I didn't want to go 3 sleepless nights in a row. A good night's rest can do really well, as can a full meal and a bit of farming, heading out to the area that I've made for all of these different crops and setting up a bunch more compostable dirt, chopping a bunch more grass around here and just getting it done. Having the full 9x9 grid fully in place, it'll convert to rich soil in due time, but at least right now I'm growing crops at maximum efficiency, or at least I will be soon. I set up rows of carrots, potatoes, onions, cabbage, tomatoes, and everything in between, headed inside to take whatever bone meal was left over that I didn't need to turn into compost, turning that into more flowers using the seeds from all of the crops that I had made to re-up on herbs, plasters, and bandages, so I'd be able to heal my body as well as my mind. And for that mind, I wanted to give it a good place to sleep, dyeing a few beds, taking them up towards the master bedroom area, and finally, resting in a room fit for a king. When I woke up in the morning, I continued focusing on decorating, setting up a few more armor stands down in the throne room with a few pieces of armor and sets that I had looted from all of the undead that were attacking me, just mainly putting them here for decoration. And my moat is working, not just against the undead, but against the pillagers that were coming to give me more problems. So after eliminating them, I made sure to put the work into expanding it, having another plague doctor visit me right after.
Oh my goodness, you scared me.
I continued working on excavating the moat, having to climb the vines along the side of my castle to get up on top of some of the trees that were growing a little too close to be able to chop them all down, getting a bit of string from the few cobwebs that were still somehow remaining on this place, and building up the ground leading up to that moat so it would actually be secure in holding all of the undead inside. I then headed up to the very roof above the master bedroom that I had now secured and started closing that all in, working on getting the roof actually to a proper decorative shape. Closing it all in, not worried about using that as a storage room because I have more than enough of that in other towers, and instead just trying to make sure that this place is standing up and looking the part for a keep of a worthy king. All right, day 60. We are 3/5 of the way through this thing, and the zombies aren't going to be letting up. If anything, they're going to be getting stronger, and they're smarter, working together, setting up distractions from one throwing a trident out of the water and having more sneak up behind me to push me into the lake to put me into a somewhat disadvantaged position. They're hiding in the trees, waiting to jump me when I'm not paying attention, going out for lava, swimming back and working on the farm and breeding all of my animals so I have even more pets to help ration the sanity that I will almost certainly be spending more of soon. But I want to keep working on this place. I want to keep thriving, not just surviving. So I put some work into fixing the chandelier that had been broken and floating for the better part of 50 days. We don't want to talk about it too much. Going down and breaking down the torture chamber because it's time to start spawning in a few rats and seeing what I can do here as far as what they can do for me. The purified garbage I put down the previous day will hopefully help spawn completely plague-free rats, but I need to work on securing this area first, taking out any stragglers that are waiting in the moats around the castle, having a few pillagers that are just kind of hovering around in the lake right here that are going to take some work to kill. But seeing those pillagers reminded me of another stronghold, a rival stronghold that was still standing tall against the zombie infection. So I sailed over towards the swamp and then started moving over on land, finding a few interesting things along the way.
Oh.
because I want to take what the pillagers have. I want to be the only true king that's going to survive this apocalypse. So I mined up a whole bunch of cobblestone that I could use to potentially make a little bit of a fortification a bit closer, and then started weaving through all of the pillagers here, trying to get close enough to that castle and not realizing that they were more than ready to defend it. Oh. Okay, approach 1 didn't go so well. Having to abandon the plan a little bit, I thought, well, I have a few bones from all of the skeletons I've been killing, and there's a few wolves right here. So let me make myself a few friends, tank all of the hits, and let the wolves do the stabbing. And that, at least in small scale testing, was really working. I set up a small little defensible space right here. I aggroed a group of pillagers to all come and attack me, tanked all of their shots with the shield, and then one of them turned their attention towards my wolf. No! Oh my. Oh. I can sleep. Oh, that was intense. That was a very important lesson. You lose a pet, you lose your mind, basically. And yeah, I can kind of see that. Still feeling pretty not all there in the mental health department, I headed out in search of flowers that I could use to make myself a garland, to make myself a little bit more secure with my one remaining external wolf friend. And I wandered just a little too close to a village in the process. No, oh shoot, I got too close. I'm sorry, I have doomed you all to death. A raid is a scary thought right now because damaging all of those humanoids, that's gonna cost me more sanity. But the potential rewards I could reap from it are really tempting. So I made myself a little flower crown by bone mealing up all of the ground here, and then I really had a debate with myself on whether or not I wanted to do this. Oh, the sanity mod. This is... I have made decisions. And they are decisions, all right. You stay alive. Have an escape. We should help, shouldn't we, puppy?
There's 2 villagers hidden here. 1, 2. That's secure. The village will survive now. They eventually escape. Or if I just repair the golem and they tank all the damage. There's a bunch of golems. Okay, this might be possible. Okay, it's fine. See, the pillagers got tired. Everything's great. Don't mind the corpses out of town, it's fine. Wait, have I been here? Oh, I've been here before. Whoops. No, no, no. Oh. Dang bear. Having lost my wolf companion to a bear, I figured in for a penny, in for a pound. I started sniping all of the pillagers around here, actually becoming way more sane from hitting one of them with a crossbow. Probably because of the advancement, but I'd like to think it's just when the action hero just loses it, and I'm gonna go full John Wick for the next 2 days. I spent time mainly dealing with the witches at range, eventually going in for a good old-fashioned smack. My weapon isn't as good against these living enemies. Without sharpness, I'm actually at a bit of a disadvantage. I'm built to kill the undead. The other living things are the actual threat right now, and I wasn't prepared for that. Not wanting to have to carry this fight into the dark, I slept into day 63, where I'm just clearing out a few creepers and looking out for where the final few pillagers are, finding a few witches and then a rat Pied Piper who is playing a flute and having a few of the rats attack me, and killing them is actually really bad for my sanity for some reason. That aggressive rats? They've tamed the rats. I don't know how the pillagers had decided to weaponize the plague, but as the next wave worked their way in, I'm fighting against vindicators who are trying to axe murder me, mining away at the mountains so that the iron golems aren't getting stuck, and sniping the pillagers and whatever Pied Pipers are working amongst the group, trying to take everything out from range. And everything was working until the Ravagers spawned. Oh, I don't even want to think about how much a Ravager will hurt in this mod pack. But I'm doing what I can to defend this village. I brought this on them. I'd be a bad king if I didn't step in. I'm shooting through windows whenever I see pillagers inside, trying to take on the Pied Pipers while their rats are gnawing at my ankles, and killing them is doing numbers on my sanity. So I'm starting to get worried as we're getting later and later in the day. Eventually, there's only one raider remaining, and this is always the point where, even without a sanity mod, the raids can just drive you crazy, trying to find that final enemy. I'll be honest, I didn't think I had that in me right now. I thought I'd be too focused on fighting the undead. The concept of defending a village against an actual intelligent hostile attack was beyond me. But despite my gear not being set for it, me not being prepared for it, I was able to fight, to win, and to survive. Yes! I actually completed a raid. That made me more sane. Feeling of impending dread prevents you from... What does that mean? But not being able to sleep, being told there were ominous threats still waiting out there, that had me worried. So I climbed the tallest tower I could find, watching the glowing eyes moving off in the distance, watching them staring back at me. The undead were getting smarter. The threat was getting worse. And while the living, at least right now, had been pushed back, my dominance over them asserted death waits for no one, and I have a feeling it had a plan for me.
Once the sun had risen and I was sure it was clear, I jumped down out of the tower to do a bit more exploring around town. It turned out that my friend Brock, who is an awesome creator, you should go check him out as well, had taken up pet keeping in potential retirement here at the end of the world. But I didn't exactly like the trade, so I broke and moved around the garbage can a few times, just trying to get a different offer. Eventually, I was able to trade in all of the rat corpses that I had for a bunch of emeralds, and since I still had Hero of the Village up, I got a discount while I was at it. I went and I checked out a little bit more of what was available inside the pet store before starting to head out of here, wanting to double back towards the Pillager Castle and make them pay for the assault that they had just waged on a village that I had just innocently stumbled into. And it went about as well as you would expect. Oh my God. Hurt, stressed, and partially insane, I'm just standing there, shield up, hoping that it can defend me from the flurry of crossbow bolts, taking out each of them one at a time before a few captains started heading my way, and not wanting to get Raid Omen again, I had the assistant come in trying to take out their leader, but they didn't have enough shots before it was getting too dark and I was starting to lose my mind. But the problem is my buckler broke, meaning I wouldn't be able to hold off all of the arrows, and I still am in a pretty bad spot. So I ran off towards where I had lit up earlier, blocking it all off and replacing my steel buckler with an iron one. I slept here mainly just to recover my sanity and headed down towards the Pillager Captain with fire in my hands, starting my second wildfire of this 100 days, but deciding only in fire can all things be purified. Clearing out a few of the stragglers and healing myself up to get to at least a reasonable level, I ran back underground, breaking the totem of and then smashing the skull of the evoker to land myself a totem of my own and have the Vex no longer being summoned. I set another captain on fire, doing my best to avoid getting kill credit so I'd be able to return back home safely, sniping the ones who wouldn't just stand in the flames, inconsiderate of them, and starting to think about how I'm gonna move towards the castle itself. There were more captains coming my way, so I had to rely on my fire-based combat method to be able to take most of them out, but I'm taking a little bit too much friendly fire of my own, both the physical fire as well as the arrows coming my way. And I'm not doing okay, folks. This is not going well.
Yeah, I'm losing it. I'm out of healing. It's just time to sail back before I go insane fully.
Great. Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. That's so bad. That's so bad. Ugh.
Oh, we used to be asleep here.
Oh, this is so bad. Another blood moon outside of the safety of my castle, half insane, stuck inside a shack in the middle of a swamp. This is the worst possible case scenario. It's raining, so I can't go out. I'm hurt pretty badly, so I had to actually craft up a tonic, the best healing item, just to get myself up towards full health and remove all of the limb damage I was dealing with. The sanity, the darkness, all of it's meaning that mobs can just come up at me without much warning. I'm covering above my head to try to get protection from the rain, just so I have more than maybe 15 blocks total to stand in to defend myself from, trying to make a very simple 2-block wall and hoping hiding in pretty much pitch black will mean that the zombies won't be able to track me. The rain does make it harder for them to catch my scent, but if they catch sight of me, they will hone in and run. And I can't just sit in pure darkness because that would just make me go crazy. So I stood here on the porch, defending myself in as much obscurity as I can, getting to the following morning on day 66, pretty much out of my mind, seeing that most of the village had suffered greatly.
Oh, they're infected.
Knowing that in just a few brief minutes, those villagers would convert to zombies and the whole process would start again, this place is pretty much done for. I cleared out a few mobs along my way, moving from tree to tree and house to house, trying to stay dry in between all of this just to keep myself sane, making myself a flower crown to offset the sanity damage, camping out here and eating, doing whatever I can to just buff my sanity a little bit. As I started to work my way out of the village proper, the rain finally broke.
Oh, thank goodness. That's perfect. Oh, that's great.
So I was able to safely sail back up the river towards the castle and get to safety inside.
Oh, thank goodness.
Most of the time when a blood moon happens, a horde isn't far behind, so I had to quickly start de-looting everything. I'm not going to be carrying around a ton of totems, so I just put those in places that felt important, took the Pied Piper hats and other rats-related items, and moved those down to the basement. I don't know how to get these rats to spawn. I put down the purified garbage and it's just not making any, so maybe I'm going to have to take a different approach. But the thing I am most careful about right now is making sure I have food supplies in place, the raid banners and trophies stored appropriately, and anything else that could potentially be useful stashed away in barrels. I also looked at what more I could make with food, because the roasted mutton, that's all gone. I've eaten all of it. I'm stuck to just bread rations, and that's not fit for a king. Looking through everything I have, there's actually quite a few options, including teas. And let me tell you, teas are amazing, and I can't believe I didn't notice it sooner. But I didn't have time. The zombies were outside and darkness had come.
Oh, the Endermen have sabotaged my moat. Yeah, that one right there. He sabotaged my moat.
Thankfully, it was only a few stragglers, and despite the sabotage, I was able to clear everything and get some rest, recovering sanity and peace of mind, and heading out the following morning to both re-secure my moat and kill any stragglers that were around. I headed out towards the farm area, mainly just growing onions and tomatoes, chopping up all of the mutton on the cutting board out here, and wanting to go for shepherd's pie. That's gonna take quite a bit to craft, so I needed to get a whole bunch more sheep as well, breeding them inside the tower here, and then heading inside to start all of the ingredients cooking, thinking, yep, we're gonna need a whole bunch of milk to make this possible. I also saw dog food. This would give my wolf companions resistance and strength, giving me all the benefits of a combat buddy with the likelihood of them dying significantly reduced. So I grabbed all of the meats that I had, chopped everything up, and realized that I had fully invested in something that was incompatible.
Oh, it doesn't take beef? Are you serious? Every meat except beef. Chicken, mutton, or rabbit. Okay, so we need chicken. We can get a bit of it. But that makes dog food. Wonderful.
Once my dog food blunder was restored, well, in the time it took to get it restored, I had cooked up all of the mutton, all of the potatoes, and I had everything ready except for a bit of milk. I'm gonna need to head out and find a few cows in order to be able to get that. I found a few chickens who I killed, both for feathers and poultry, which I can use to make more dog food, forgetting in the moment that this was really bad for my sanity. But I headed over towards the village because I was sure I had seen a cow here. And lucky for me, one was just kind of wandering. I threw the cow on a lead, fighting off undead, starting to work my way back towards home, wandering through the darkness and taking quite a few hits, just trying to get the cow closer to the castle. I had to loop around on the very odd side, and the darkness, the water, the stress of the undead, all of it was starting to make me go crazy, which made the darkness clamp in and navigation even harder, getting through all of the mobs even tougher, and I started to get overrun.
Or I should not have done this. I should not have done this. I should not have tried. Hey! Yes! Okay, that's so good for me. That's so good for me. Just making a pie made me sane. I love it. That's awesome. I think I made all the shepherd's pie I'm gonna need for the rest of my playthrough. So much shepherd's pie, I love it. With both food and thought secured and safe, I spent my time standing out on the ramparts, immolating any zombies that got a little too close and heading to rest as soon as I thought it was safe to. And then it was time to do more investigating into the teas. The teas, that could solve everything when it comes to this world. Specifically, rose hip tea gives regeneration. The same thing that all of the medical items that I have been giving me. It won't cure any of the damage to any of my limbs, so I still can't get rid of things like bandages altogether, but it does allow me to heal much cheaper than any of the existing items that I rely on. So I crafted myself up a teapot and got that on top of a magma block right down here in the throne room. The only problem was we didn't have any roses, and I didn't know where to find any. So I had to head down to the basement, not paying any attention to the Enderman that was just hovering around down here, filling my canteens, purifying them, and preparing for another venture out. I cleared out any of the zombies that were currently stuck inside the moat surrounding the castle and sailed out that evening, doubling back down the river to open water, and this time turning south instead of north to explore in a different direction. Our goal is roses, structures, any new traders we could find, killing every undead and seagull that we come across to secure more land for the kingdom. But the undead had taken over a lot of these southern lands, and I found myself pushed back as the constant fighting was nagging at my brain.
There's so many more now.
As it rolled over to day 60 nice, I was able to make my way back over towards the land, getting an advancement from swimming close to an orca, which helped offset all of the killing that I was doing here in the lake. But I headed up and over the hill and out on these islands here, finding an identical keep that mirrors my own, and the cobwebs here are huge. I already know where a lot of the treasures are in this structure from finding them in my own domicile, so I'm able to grab a lot of the valuable things at the top of some of the towers, but the string is actually really important because I don't have enough, and without it, I can't craft more bandages. Spiders are not spawning nearly as much as I would want, so despite me getting multiple gold blocks in a single chest, I'm still just as excited and focused on breaking down every single cobweb that I see. I'm not going to worry about the basement because that is filled with far more zombies than I feel confident taking on right now. So I jumped back into the water and sailed across to more new lands, more cold forests, more flower fields, more villages filled with idyllic villagers that have no idea the end of the world is nigh. And while I found a whole bunch of other flowers, roses were nowhere to be seen. Close by though, I saw a waving red flag on top of a somewhat hodgepodge tower that had been built by pillagers in another stronghold defense that they had set up here. Working my way up to the top, I was able to get one of my favorite items in the game. Goat horn! And it's the good one! Stashing everything away, I slept here on the top of the tower, and that's when everything changed. Holy. That was immediately so much more dangerous. The plague had been evolving. It'd been getting harder and harder throughout this entire challenge, and as I woke up in the morning, zombies were now actively spawning in the daylight. Oh my goodness. Meaning that there was no more safety from the sun, and they were immediately pouring
in. Zombies are now everywhere, constantly spawning, constantly targeting me, and just constantly being a threat. I jumped to the water as they were spawning on land and not yet in the lake directly underneath me, sailing over towards a nearby ruined ship where I was able to get a treasure map and a few other supplies from the chests. I'm slightly freezing from swimming underwater, and even more so once it started to rain, which is making it even worse.
Oh my god, so fast.
I needed to get somewhere warm and dry, and the only structure I knew of that was even remotely defensible right now was the pillager tower. I had to run through it basically as the zombies overwhelmed me, as a few were above me in the area, having to double back in and breaking the stairs behind me, killing a few undead along the way to secure just the few precious seconds I needed to cut off that access route. The only problem, there's infected pillagers near the top. I actively watched one convert as I had to immolate the other, and my sanity is so low from being in the rain for so long, but the easiest way I know of to get it back up is to eat, and I'm not quite hungry just yet. So I had to run down to the stairs, clearing out any zombies that were constantly lining up, as they will pile up and overcome the few blocks difference that I have here and be able to just overwhelm me in a crowd. The constant fighting started to drive me mad. The world started to close in. I was able to sleep, which reset my sanity, thankfully, and allowed me to take on all of the mobs as they made their way up the stairs, constantly getting just a little bit closer. By the time it was just barely after the sun had risen, I've already lost more sanity than I gained overnight, jumping out of the tower into the river and sailing over towards where the treasure map was leading me. I cleared out the few zombies that were immediately in the area, allowing me to start excavating down, having to constantly just check my back as there is no longer safety at any time in the day. Once I had grabbed all the loot, I headed over towards the woods to break a few flowers for a new garland so I could offset and gain myself some additional sanity, looping back over towards the villages and finding what I was looking for.
Roses. Roses. I only need one. Perfect. Oh, so many roses. Perfect. A little bit of iron while we're at it, why not?
Once I had grabbed the roses that are gonna be key for my long-term survival, I raided another of the small pillager outpost houses here, an inn or tavern that they had taken over and ransacked. I took a few axes to the face in doing that, which gave me a splitting headache, and that's the last pun I'll make on that matter, starting to think of sailing my way back towards home and realizing that the fastest way is actually over land, getting back towards the village that I had found all the roses in, killing a few straggler zombies, and getting a quick rest there. Once the sun was up and I had caught my bearings, I started heading back, finding, you guessed it, more roses along the way, about halfway back towards the village that I had just missed by a few degrees in my travel. Going as the crow flies versus what was easier to traverse or where I had started from for my sailing, I actually found a massive ruined area filled with archaeological opportunities that I marked for later and continued on, running through another swamp, another somewhat peat-infested area, another dark and dank forest across more water, and finally back towards home. The world really got the memo on the medieval theming and the kind of grim dark fantasy, because it is giving me nothing but biomes that fit the theme. Taking the time to drop off all of the loot that I had collected, mainly just leather and anything that could be used for more string, I finally got myself to rest, having to do my normal morning chores the following day of cleaning out any mobs that were stuck in the moat and then replanting all of the crops around here, because I'm going to use this to stockpile food for any other potential evolutions in the plague that are going to get me stuck inside these walls. I took a lot of the wheat over towards the sheep to breed even more, taking shears to all of them, getting a ton of wool and killing the one who had made their way outside of the tower, realizing that the sheep are never going to regrow their wool unless I can find a way to get grass inside. So I started planting down a whole bunch of dirt inside of the castle walls. I don't have silk touch, and the odds of me getting it is practically zero at this point, so I'm gonna have to go with good old-fashioned growth mechanics. I used wheat to lure all the sheep back into the corner tower, having a few being unwilling to follow the assignment. But I came up with a somewhat ingenious way of getting grass into the tower, making very small, precise holes in the outer tower structure. I was able to put dirt down because grass can grow underneath the fences, and I don't need to worry about zombie children making their way into that part of the castle, but the grass can grow. As it started to get dark, I collected all of my spoils, allowing me to make about 20 plasters, which I can convert into half as many bandages, which are all really good for healing. That's what I'll use whenever I'm actually physically damaged, but if it's just health that I'm short, the chopped up roses that I can turn into rose hips that I can start brewing into rose hip tea will help with overall general regeneration. I made a bucket, threw some water into the teapot, and started figuring out how I could do brewing. And now that I have tier 1 teas, it's time to go out and get the milk again. I started by smelting up all of the sand that I had to make a whole bunch of glass, which can be a whole bunch of bottles, which is the only way to really contain these teas. Doing my morning ritual of clearing out a bunch of the undead, which is way harder since they're constantly spawning now. Heading back over towards the village to try to see if I could find myself a cow, and I only found myself shame.
Was there seriously roses right here? The whole time? Was there seriously roses right by this village? I went on a 6-day quest to get roses, and they were I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Thankfully, somewhat near to all of the shame were a few cows that I was able to lead and start heading over towards the burnt fortress. This time in the daytime, so it would be a little bit more, less lethal to, get the mobs there. Less lethal no longer means safe though, so I had to move quickly, setting up a small pen of the burnt fences that I had, getting the 2 cows inside, starting to breed them, and getting myself a whole bunch of milk, which I could bottle to make it more efficient for potential brewing in the future, and getting myself my first set of tier 2 teas. Try saying that 3 times fast. Now that I knew how it worked, I repeated the process, going through the multiple different brewing steps to set up my new regeneration option. And after a successful day heading off to sleep, I found something really confusing in my bedroom. How'd you get up here? The next day was a bit of a calmer one. There was a ton of zombies in the moat, but I have lava to deal with that. We didn't have enough cows, but I had wheat to deal with that. I wanted more food, and I had some time to do some farming to deal with that. It was when I got to the point that the moat was starting to fill up with creepers that things got a little out of hand. I immediately went to work to repair the damage downstairs, getting the lower enchanting area sealed and then reinforcing some of the ground closer towards the entrance of the house, thinking that if the creepers get any smarter and start intentionally blowing things up, I might have a bit of a problem. There's also the matter of a couple different burnt trees a little too close to the wall that I needed to spend my time chopping down. Now that zombies are spawning up here sometimes, I don't want that to be another easy access point. Being in a more security-focused mindset, I spent the rest of the day kind of just auditing everything else around, seeing where there were vulnerabilities, where there was the potential to improve, and stockpiling supplies for future additions onto the home. Knowing that my base was now pretty safe, it was time to leave it behind once again, preparing for another scout out into the wild to find myself some more poisoned potatoes. My initial thought was to just do the farming right here. There were a ton of zombies that had spawned through the night that I needed to clear out, kind of exhausting myself in the process. And the children move really quickly and are annoying to fight amongst the tall grass. Because my first thought was doing the farming here, going several rows of potatoes, bone mealing all of them, killing zombies in between, and just seeing if I could force some poisoned potatoes to spawn here at home. But you can see, I'm fighting so many zombies. What?
Oh my god, that's too many things. That's too many things. I don't know what's spawning too many things.
So I headed inside trying to see if there were more ways to get poison potatoes than in vanilla Minecraft. Sometimes additional crafting recipes are added, and if I didn't do the research, I wouldn't know any better. Plus, all the zombies then found their way into the moat, which I could easily take care of with lava. And they delivered me like another half stack of leather as long as I smelted up all of the rotten flesh chunks that they had dropped. But as the sun started to set, it made sense why there were even more around.
Okay. Okay, we have problems. We have big problems. They're fighting over there. Okay, that's potentially good.
Knowing that a blood moon would mean for a full night of zombies spawning, all of them aggressive, most of them aware of my location, I knew just hiding behind my defenses wouldn't work anymore. I needed to actively expand them where the threats were coming in. I took any bows that I could find in the chests that I had, getting spots for the same lava bucket defenses that I had placed elsewhere, adding some additional lava dispensers to the back of the castle, which currently serves as a massive blind spot in my defenses. I haven't been paying attention back here, and the vines have grown, allowing it so that the zombies can work their way up towards me if I'm not careful. I tried to sleep, but the blood moon won't let me. I ran out of cobblestone, so I couldn't craft more dispensers. I actually headed down into the basement to cannibalize the floor just so I could make another, taking shots from skeletons through the open window from 50-60 blocks away. By the time the blood moon had set, I was better defended, but I was basically sore and injured over my entire body to do so. But with the moon risen, zombies, while they still spawn, are far less frequent, meaning I can focus on taking out the few stragglers that are contained here unless they go ahead and take each other out. I did a very rushed patch job on the moat, just completing a lap around the castle and heading back inside, doing a bit more mining up of my floor to get all of the cobblestone, and then replacing it with more burnt planks to continue the same theming from what I have upstairs. I patched the holes in the walls from the interior, being reminded of the very traumatizing trip through the Nether, having just a few too many zombies collect outside the front gate.
Oh my, nope, they pushed the children through. Oh shoot. Oh, that's not good at all. I can't even make that a pit trap because that's my basement. I would just let them into the basement. My armor is wrecked. And it gets worse. And it gets so much worse. Here come the rats. That's a lot of rats. Oh my god! What has happened here? I'm also starting to go a little insane. That's not good. Oh, that's so... Come on, in the pit. Get in the pit. Out of bolts. There's the rats. Out of bolts. 2 gold bolts. Okay, the horde stopped. I really desperately need to sleep or I'm gonna go insane. Please tell me I can...
Having survived another horde attack, I used some of the rotten flesh that I had collected to breed up more of the wolves to make myself a few spares, feeding one of them dog food and then taking them out in a fight to see how much it really makes them combat ready, and it does quite a bit. So I figured let's give this a shot, venturing out in a ship, getting my wolf inside, and starting to sail. My main thought is doubling back towards that area that had the archaeology site. Potentially, there's enough chests there, potentially some of it containing foodstuffs, and some of that having potentially spoiled, which would give me the poison potatoes that I need to be able to work on my witch armor set. I'm making sure to use rotten flesh to heal up the wolf from time to time, but it took all day just to get there. The first chest was promising, but I needed to wait until the morning so I could actually do the work into brushing things off and doing archaeology. My hope was being far enough away from home would mean maybe the zombies wouldn't be attracted to me without a big settlement. Maybe I'd have a little bit of peace of mind to be able to do some simple brushing and collecting of artifacts. It was a calculated decision, but I was bad at math.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot. No, wolf, 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 wolf. Oh, come on. Ugh. Well, there's the horrors. There's the other horrors. Oh, I hate it. I'm infected now, too. Great. Great. Oh, more archaeology. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. Oh, I hate how dark it is here. I make... Oh. Yeah, of course there's monsters nearby. Wait, this can brew. This is loaded. A loaded brewing stand is huge. There's no way I'm making it to the nether. Don't like that.
I can sleep. After resting in the witch hut here and realizing I finally have a way to brew potions, which is kind of like teas, but, you know, more magical, I bridged my way out and headed back over towards the archaeology site. I was determined to find something here. Something useful had to be here. And I thought if I moved quickly and quietly worked my way through things, I'd be able to find what I was looking for. The only problem is I dug a 2x1 hole into an area with no exit and accidentally boxed myself in.
Oh, this has all gone so badly. Oh, I don't like that snake. What's broken? Oh, my boots. Okay. That's gone so badly. I need to put shoes on? Is that it? Maybe if I would just put on really bad shoes, it's better than being barefoot in the swamp. I mean, I'm losing it. Yep, they are. Okay. That's not going well. Not going well at all. It went so badly. I'm so dehydrated. Okay.
Having fled from the archaeology site basically empty-handed, I had a few small pottery sherds and that was it. I focused on replenishing the supplies I had spent on my adventure out. A full stack of teas were gone, a bunch of leather was acquired in the form of rotten flesh, but it didn't feel like a good trade. More of my sanity, more of my time was spent hiding, keeping myself safe, just trying to preserve, and I lost several pieces of armor along the way that I now need to invest my precious few diamonds to replace. It didn't feel like a good trade-off, and as I moved into the next day and I finished collecting and recollecting all of my resources, I'm still wondering what I'm gonna do to make this work.
I still don't have any rats. I don't know how that works.
Only in Minecraft can the sentence, "I still don't have any rats," actually be a complaint. But without knowing how to spawn them successfully, the whole concept of taming them, potentially turning them into fighting allies, which you can do in this mod, by the way, it's just feeling less and less likely with the little time I have left. So I'm turning my attention to focus exclusively on the undead and my defenses. And there's quite a few zombies left in the moat, too many for the lava to deal with, mainly because the moat was still broken and the lava wasn't flowing properly. So I had to go out and fight and take care of things the good old-fashioned manual way, getting pushed down in the trenches with the undead and having to focus on just critting each of them out as they're all coming to eat me. It was stressful. Knock a few zombies back, get a few blocks in place, potentially secure the whole area, and I was able to do it, but at great stress, to the point where I'm starting to get a little nervous with how many zombies are around me. So I climbed the vines on the outside of my castle, placing blocks down to allow me to crawl in through the window, using that same block to be able to then place a dispenser, fill it with lava, and set it back down, burning the path behind me. And I ended up being really glad that I had put the time in to shore up my defenses even further, because the blood moons were coming more frequently than ever before. The last 80 odd days of preparation was making it so that the more frequent moons, while a problem, is not an existential one. I can rely on my defenses, the thought that I'd put into everything, the security of this fortress to keep the undead out and me alive. It did require me to put more manual work on the front gate. As I hadn't set up any sort of defense there, I can't because the bottom of it just drops down into my basement, but I'm feeling like I'm doing everything right until they made it inside.
How did one get inside? How did one get inside? Actually a huge problem. Like, I understand there was only 2 zombies that got inside. That's a big deal that anything got inside. This place is supposed to be a fortress.
Standing on the top of the tower as the moon fell, I slowly worked my way down, breaching and clearing each room, trying to see where the vulnerabilities in my security had stemmed from. I didn't find any glaring holes, any access points, any way that the zombies were able to get in. They just got in. And I don't know about you, but that's the scarier proposition in my point. If it was something I could find, if it was something fixable, I could fix it. But without any clue, I have to just rely on the fact that it won't happen again, using the lava to clear out all of the different dangers I have. I got myself and chopped up a little bit more mutton so I could cook up a bit more food, mainly for the animals so they could eat a little bit better, putting the effort into clearing out the zombie trenches, thinking maybe it was just sheer numbers, something that forced someone up or over the wall, maybe through the vines. I couldn't tell. I didn't know, and that's the part that kept getting to me. I headed down towards the river, refilling all of my canteens, thinking maybe I could do a little bit of farming, but the constant stream of zombies would never let up.
Goodness, there's so many. I'm starting to lose it again. Stay with the puppies. The puppies are safe. That's right, you can't make it out of the big flowers.
So instead, I just went inside, purified all the water, and in checking my storerooms, found out that I actually had a little bit of what I was looking for.
Desperately need to find poison potatoes. I have 2. Oh, I have 2. I didn't even realize I had 2.
It might not be everything, but it's halfway towards my goal, so I'll take that as a success. Storing it off over in the armory smithing magic corner room. There's not a good one-word name for that kind of room. And then thinking, how do we go and get more? First things first was getting the concrete powder. That was easy. Just go out, dig a few blocks of sand, a few blocks of gravel, take care of the unrelenting, endless, undying horde who constantly wants to eat your brains, and then make your way back towards your farm. You know, a casual Thursday kind of thing. At that point, it was time to full send it. I broke all of my crops. I broke everything that I had. I'm surrounded and being chased by dozens of undead at a time, but I'm trying to stay on task, getting a full field of potatoes in place, but having to fight for every inch of doing that. But it's at least working, slowly, but it's working. Now needing just one more, I kited the zombies around, running back over towards the castle for a little bit to burn the ones that were a little too close, and then doubling back towards the farm, thinking maybe if I clear out a wave, there's a small gap where I can bone meal all of the potatoes here and get them growing up. But just the zombies would not let up, so I ended up going for the nuclear option, starting to mine up as much of the crop plot as I could manage, grabbing the rich soil and running inside into the walls, setting up a very small little temporary plot here inside the safety of the castle, because I think we're starting to get to the point where it's time to just bunker down and wait out the storm.
What do I even do here? What do I even do? I'm surrounded, constantly under assault. They won't stop spawning. I keep burning them alive. What am I supposed to do?
What I did was farmed through the night. Irregardless of the screams of the undead just on the other sides of the walls, I am bone mealing potatoes as fast as I can, growing as many as I can, and not getting any rotten ones. First world problem, I know. And the next day, after everything I had accomplished, after everything I had done, I'm starting to worry that just bad RNG is going to kill me at the end of the day.
Come on. Do I have more bone meal upstairs? A little bit.
Wait, I saw it. Oh, I got 2!
Perfect. I can make the armor. Okay, red concrete powder. Goblet. Oh, and it carries over the enchantments. That's huge. Oh, but I need the goblet. Okay. Was my chestplate unenchanted? Okay, so maybe it doesn't always carry over the enchantments. Oh, I look awesome. Look at me. My chestplate's just fully unenchanted. I can fix that.
With my new armor set finally donned, I'm gonna be a lot harder to kill, thankfully. I made my way down to the basement to work on enchanting the one piece of armor that didn't have any enchants. I'm still not 100% sure what had happened. Had I been rocking an unenchanted chestplate for like 80 days at this point? That blows my mind if I did. I'm gonna have to go back and look. But after a few rerolls, a few re-enchants, I came up with something great.
That is the best I'm gonna get. Can I enchant this? Dang.
Protection 4, Unbreaking 3, basically the best it was going to get. I spent a few more of my ample levels to just enchant a few books, seeing what I have here, but it turns out that lapis is now the limiting factor as I'm out of that, and I won't be able to reroll or add new enchantments until I can go find more. And knowing that I'm probably gonna want a bit more magic on my side against the undead horde, there's time for one final patrol, one final venturing out, because I know one other group that is somewhat obsessed with magic and would likely also be stockpiling things here at the end of the world. But before I could head out, the horde was coming to me.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, look at all those rats. Look at all of that. They genuinely might just die of entity cramming. Three seconds of regen for a kill. That's huge, actually. That's wild.
But even though I successfully defended the castle all night, the next morning I was once again surprised by a single intruder. Where did you come from? How did that child get in here? Only this time, it wasn't a single intruder. There were multiple zombies who had made their way into the castle, and I still don't know how. But the rain had started confining me indoors as I worked on getting the loot that I had been collecting just passively and killing zombies constantly for about 5 days straight and getting it all stashed away and stored where it belongs. There was still the matter of a couple more blind spots where the lava wasn't being dispensed, where zombies would be allowed to collect, and maybe I'm thinking this is where the zombies are making their way in. So I broke down a few of the cobwebs that I had to make a few more precious bows, to make a few more dispensers, to set more points where the lava could be sent out. But the funny part about this is, now that I'm out of diamond armor and I don't have that passive heat resistance, the witch armor doesn't do the same, meaning if I leave all my defenses on, now I'm starting to feel the effects of that molten rock as well. So it is a very interesting catch-22, as I now need to turn on all the lava and get away from it in order to keep myself perfectly healthy as I'm killing all of the mobs outside. And they're still collecting at the gate. I'm gonna have to do something about that, but I still don't have a good answer as to what. And I don't know if this is a case of if you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, but my first thought was, let's go get another bucket of lava. Downing the milk, filling it back up, and swimming back over towards the castle. Seeing a few spots around the central rotunda tower that I could use as additional defenses, as I ran around to just get a little bit of cobblestone to be able to make more dispensers, the absolute worst thing in the world happened.
Oh, I'm infected. Oh, I'm infected. That's so upsetting. Well, if I'm gonna get infected, doing it now is the best point because it's about to get so much worse.
But after curing myself of the infection, I set up those lava dispensers around the front tower, so now there's more of an area that's protected, watching out and seeing just how much stronger the horde is getting. The problem I have now is at some point they're going to be able to overwhelm this single gate block. It's holding back so much, so we need to set up additional defenses. And my first thought was, once again, lava. Forgetting, maybe because it was all gray, that my front gate is primarily made out of wood, and wood burns.
Oh no, I burned the door. I burned the door. I burned the door. I burned the door.
Thankfully, I'm hoping the burnt wood that I've made is slightly more fire resistant, maybe because it's entirely out of all of its carbon, that it didn't exactly burn away. Instead, just holding onto that flame, serving as a kind of secondary defense. But between the rain, the darkness, the zombies all around, I was starting to get a little bit stressed out, so I headed up to bed. I woke the following morning having to deal with a few creepers right outside of the base, but there was a gap in all of the zombies, so I was actually able to get the dispenser in place and load it with lava from the top. This would allow me to lure everything towards the gate and immolate it the same as I could on every other wall of the castle at this point, and I had to pretty regularly as the zombies are really starting to pile up. The only problem is my front door is still partially made out of wood, which means it does occasionally catch on fire. So I'm relying on the sides of the castle to be my main zombie killing areas, just trying to take care of basic needs here inside the space. I had all the potatoes I could ever want now, since I had been searching so much for the poison ones, but what I really needed was a way out. I was starting to think that this castle might end up being a bit of a prison more for me than a safe haven. That I might actually be stuck in here, not exactly safe in here. The first thing I realized is that the siege was actually affecting me. I was out of feathers, which means I couldn't make any more crossbow bolts, which means my main projectile weapon is basically useless. I can default to arrows, but to get a bow enchanted, I only have 2 lapis, even though I have almost 50 levels, so I'm stuck with lower tier gear. So I was once once again encouraged to fend my way out, to drive past all the zombies who were stuck in the moat and run through the woods, finding a trail ruins just in the ground right here. If I can ever catch a moment of respite that I can go and check that out, it might be worthwhile. But I ran through the dark, no torch, no light, no guidance, just running blind, hoping that it meant that fewer zombies would catch my trail. And it worked. I was able to get to a somewhat ruined tower filled with cobwebs, and thanks to me exploring a similar tower before, knowing to go to the very roof to check out the very valuable loot chests that were at the top and giving me a safe place to sleep. And I'm glad I did that, because as I headed down the tower, the undead were waiting outside. I never got an iron pick. I went straight to diamonds. Stone to diamond. That's wild. Somewhat out of order advancements aside, I thought for a while I should fight my way through the zombies near the front gate, but instead I went over them, jumping from tree to tree, taking a few skeleton shots along the way, and just legging it, hoping they won't be able to track me. I headed over the mountains here, taking a slightly different approach angle, and returning back to attack the pillager castle. Because if I'm going to enchant my gear, if I'm going to improve my standing, I have a feeling that it's going to come at the expense of another king.
Oh boy. No, I got infected again. Oh, they got infected too. Great. I don't have any golden apples. This is what we would call a problem. The closest I've gotten to this castle. I need what's inside. I especially need what's inside if they have apples. Oh, it's burning. Great. That's useful. Was that an apple? That was an apple. Oh my god. Hurry, 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 hurry. Oh! I almost turned. Oh, that almost went. Is so dark.
I slept through the night, and the following morning it was time to head back up for another attempt on the castle. I pillared up just with dirt, getting on top of the trees, on top of the overhang, and instead of trying to fight through the horde, just running past all of them. At this point, the zombies were too busy attacking the pillagers that neither really paid attention to me, and I was able to slip through in the chaos. The only problem was the zombies were inevitably going to win that fight, which meant we had zombies with guns that would soon be waiting outside. But I'm focused on the interior, the Vindicators here on one of the floors, guarded, safe, and sheltered, but with exposed ankles that I could repeatedly stab. I worked my way up the tower, getting a bunch of iron, a few crossbows, a few feathers, so I can re-up on my projectiles, but no lapis. At the very top of this tower was an illusioner, who I started trying to fight my way through, but they were equipped with special levitation arrows. Lucky for me, there was land above this tower that I could stand on. Unlucky for me, I really only had one way down.
I don't have anything to help with the... Oh, I do have a little bit to help with the fall.
But I actually didn't use it, instead just diving down on the illusioner's head, whiffing my shot and being put up into the sky again. I actually used the pearl through the ladder hole to get down into a bottom floor and secure my safety. I'm taking a lot of mental stress right now. I'm starting to freak out. The noises are starting to work their way back in. So I left the illusioner alone and headed over to a nearby library area, thinking maybe they do their enchanting over there. After striking out there, I just hit one of the final towers to get myself a bit more iron, a few more arrows, and after one more snipe from the illusioner hovering me out and over the field directly in front of the area, I pearled down to the water and sailed away in the night, sleeping on the coast as the final evolution was here.
Okay, from this point on, if I get infected, it's over. It can't be cured anymore. Part of me is just thinking get to the castle and be safe. I don't think there's anything else more value there for me. Let's get home.
So with a middlingly successful raid of another castle behind me, I sailed through the swamp just wanting to get home. We're at the point now that a single bite, a single infection is effectively fatal, so I have to keep my head on a swivel. I moved my way through another witch's village here, getting a whole bunch of string, 4 more bows, 4 more dispensers, fighting off a few small children and having to be very careful every step of the way. I'm getting gold and iron, just no lapis, which means my enchants are basically capped out. I'm done improving my gear set. I have to survive with what I have. So I'm moving quickly, looting chests as I see them, but primarily trying to stay mobile and out of the reach of the undead. Getting back over towards the swamp village that had probably succumbed to undeath based off of my most recent visit, but there were still a few uninfected villagers walking around, and a golem who was more than willing to help clear a path as I started sailing home in the rain. The freezing, cold, sanity-breaking rain, making my way back into the castle with my backpack and delooting and compressing everything I had been collecting. This is what I was getting, and I just now needed to hold out and survive. And the world was not going to make that easy. Great. I need to hurry.
Oh, you got inside. I can't get away from that Enderman. Don't, nope, no, Don't me.
What is happening over there? And why are they so much better armed now? Is that one have fire resistance? Ow. Oh. Oh, there you go. Fences don't work, but the lava does. Perfect. Not perfect. Less than perfect. Oh, that could be so bad if I'm not careful. Oh, and now we have a horde. Even better, even worse. Even so much worse. Oh my god, there's so many. There's so many of them, and they're just coming out of the lake like rats. I've already killed all the rats. They're all over there. Just look at them coming this way. Front of the castle is just a death trap. But as much as they can't get in, I can't leave. Because I am just surrounded here. I really want all that XP and stuff. That was actually kind of stupid. Nope. Didn't get over that.
Nope, nope, they can get through. Perfect. Not perfect. Less than perfect. They're through. Okay. Less than perfect. I thought maybe if I used a modded gate, they wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so it's time to use this now. Burn all of that. I have arrows. Okay, back to crossbow bolts. Oh, well, I burned the fence. I think I'm about to set my third forest fire. I need non-flammable walls. Oh. Are they inside? God, that could have been so bad. Oh. Great. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die so badly. Got very framey. I'm worried at the number of mobs that have just spawned. The amount of, like, zombie has found you. Oh! My God. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. They climbed up to the wall almost. This is wild. Nope, nope, nope. We keep the door sealed. What am I thinking? Oh, I'm out of bolts again. Great. Can't let them pile up. Nope. Okay, I need blocks to repair this. No, 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 no! Oh, they're in the castle.
Break down my walls, but I won't rise again. 'Cause I stand tall in my environment. How could I ever close my eyes as they silence sins? They try to take me down with their violence.
I don't have any range. But that's not gonna hold. That's not gonna hold at all. They can totally just pile up in there. Oh my god. Why are the sheep glowing? That's what I want to know. Why do the sheep glow when I go insane? Oh my god.
Break down my walls, but I will rise again. 'Cause I stand tall in my environment. How could I ever close my eyes and stay silent since they try to take me down with their violence?
No.
I will rise
No.
again.
No, I got bitten. Oh, can I make it? 2 minutes. It's only day 94. Oh no. No, I was so close. Got a lot of good does now. Go put the stuff away. It's so close. Infection 2. I don't know how high it goes. Rusty lava bucket. The backpack. I tried. I tried my best. I almost made it. Well, 94 days, I guess. Oh, it gets so much worse. The agony. Another 5 minutes of this. It's so wild to know I'm basically guaranteed dead. Oh, I'm starving now. Ow. I'm really hungry now. What's going down fast? And put the items away. Have the place in good shape for you. I wonder, I mean, I'm going insane now too. "45 seconds. Well, time for the speech. So long, cruel world. I did my best. I tried. Oh, it gets worse. It keeps getting worse. Infection 4. Why do I have a feeling it goes up to 5 and this is just a really long way to die? My forest fire of a castle. My scorched kingdom. Technically day 95. There isn't enough time, I can't make it. But I did one more day. I think this is the only thing keeping me alive right now. I think I'd be super hungry if it weren't for this nourishment. All the poor dogs. Poor dogs I leave behind. We almost did it, folks. We almost survived. Feels weird seeing an actual timer on your life. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.